Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Jujutsu Kaisen. Curse Return, fusion with Madara and provoking Sukuna at the start. Chapter 1. In the Jujutsu Kaisen world, a lone figure, dressed in black, with long black hair dancing in the wind. His hands were wrapped in black chakra, and his whole body became as black as ink. His white clothes also turned into black armor under the black chakra. He was wearing a tight black combat suit with red layered armor on the outside. It can provide effective protection in battle. Fortunately, it was the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. If he had traveled to another world, he would have no idea what the subsequent plot would be like. The man sitting on the roof was called Fangha. He couldn't sleep last night and planned to go to the toilet to relieve himself. Due to excessive excitement, he accidentally died in the toilet. When he opened his eyes, he found that he had traveled to the world of one of his favorite anime, Jujutsu Kaisen. As long as you complete the main quest, you can increase your points and exchange them for system items. Ding! Successfully bound to the host. Congratulations to the host for traveling through the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Get the number of lottery draws *1. The system and the golden finger are standard for every time traveler. Please select the world to extract. You can draw Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. What a great anime trio. I don't believe you if you say the system has never watched anime. Naruto seems to be the strongest at the moment. If you can draw a character from the Uchiha family, you can basically walk sideways in the world of curses in the early stage. System, I choose to draw Naruto. Ding, the lottery is in progress. Congratulations to the host for winning. Uchiha Madara's impure world reincarnation, unlocked form. Hold the grass, a single shot of gold. Uchiha Madara is fine, but it is still the form of the impure. World reincarnation, Mangekyo Sharingan, complete Susanoo, Sky Kai Shockstar, Fire Style Great Fire Extinguishment, the top physical skills in the ninja world, and also inherited Hashirama's wood style. It can be said that he is a hexagonal warrior. It's full, really full. It's like Fangha has drawn a character who is immortal, has infinite chakra, and is immortal. He is the absolute ceiling in the recovery of spells. Uchiha Madara is a top-tier fighter in Naruto. With the blue Susanoo open, he can fight 5 people at once, and Wang has no chance to fight back. Do you play the original system? Congratulations to the host for triggering the system's hidden function, and Genshin Impact is launched. Free system all functions. You are really a fool. Fangha was just talking casually, but she didn't expect to accidentally open all the functions of the system for free. This wave is a big profit. As a fan of Jujutsu Back to the Station comics, I know the plot of the later period of Jujutsu Back to the Station very well. The 3 strongest people will fight in Shinjuku. It can't be more exciting. And Fangha's favorite is Gojo Sensei. Gojo Satoru was beheaded. It doesn't matter, Fangha will take action. Looking at the moon in the sky, calculating the time, the main storyline of Jujutsu Kaisen is about to begin, and he is looking forward to the day when he will meet Ryomen Sukuna. What kind of interesting expression will he have when the strongest person 1,000 years ago finds out that there is someone stronger than him? The war has begun. Hello Zashan, this is Tiger Stick. Tiger Stick picked up the phone and kept asking the hospital staff. Just now, Tiger Stick found that his grandfather had not answered the phone, so he simply called the hospital staff directly. What happened to my grandpa? He never answered my calls. The hospital staff patiently explained to Tiger Stick. Oh, I told him that. Don't hang up yet, I'll go ask for you. The nurse stood up and left her seat. The 2 nurses next to her began to worry. Mr. Yuji never presses the nurse bell, right? This makes people worry. Excuse me, Mr. Yuji. The nurse pushed open the door of the ward. Mr. Yuji was lying on the bed in high spirits. He raised his voice several notches and said to the nurse at the door. Tell him to leave me alone. Go and join the club activities. The Tiger Stick on the other end of the phone was obviously a little confused and didn't know what to say for a moment. All right, I'll go there tomorrow. Yuji had no choice but to agree. At midnight, Fushiguro Megumi walked into the 3rd senior school. It was pitch black at night and there were no street lights in the school. He walked into the school in the dark and found the place where Gojo Satoru had stored his finger. A small wooden double-door louvered box stood at the edge of the school. If Gojo Satoru hadn't told him, Fushiguro Megumi really wouldn't have found it. How could a special grade cursed item be stored in such a place? Isn't that too stupid? Feng Wuxia had expected that the main plot had already begun, so she sneaked into the school before Fushiguro came and watched Fushiguro Megumi's every move. Fushiguro Megumi opened the door lock with an expression of disbelief on his face, and was immediately panicked, because at this moment there was no special stunt spell in the louvered box, there was nothing inside, not a fart. Looking around, she could not find any trace of the spell. She kept opening and closing the door, trying to make her fingers appear out of thin air. So silly, do you really think you are a magician, you can make anything you want? Feng Wuxia, who was standing on the roof, saw Fushiguro Megumi's funny actions and couldn't help but start to complain. The stupidest ones in the Jujutsu backstation belong to the three protagonists. No, there is nothing in the shutter box. Is this true? This is hilarious. Gojo Satoru's voice came from the other end of the phone. He obviously didn't take this matter to heart. As the resident of the Gojo family of the three great families, and with the title of the strongest sorcerer in modern times, Gojo Satoru is not afraid of those cowardly old men who just hide behind others. If they knew that Sukuna's finger was missing, who knows what kind of trouble they would cause. Ha ha ha, he must have gone out for a walk at night. Gojo Satoru said jokingly, but Fushiguro Megumi was not in a good mood at this time. If you laugh again, I will beat you up. The voice sounded a little unhappy, but it did not affect Gojo Satoru's nerves. Anyway, you are not allowed to come back until you get the thing. After hanging up the phone, Gojo Satoru gave Fushiguro Megumi a death order, and secretly said in his heart, I will beat him up next time. She has inherited Gojo Satoru's neuroticism perfectly. Megumi Fushiguro was bought by Gojo Satoru at a high price since she was a child. She has been with Gojo Satoru for more than 10 years, and her personality is constantly getting closer to Gojo Satoru. Feng Wuxia took off his armor, his long hair turned into short hair, put on the school uniform, and it was too easy to create a fake identity with the help of the system. He easily sneaked into Yuji's third high school. In the Paranormal Research Society, Sasaki, Aguchi and Yuji were in a dark secret room. Yuji swallowed his saliva and said carefully, Let's get started. Fox Fairy, please tell us the creature that can defeat the student union president. The coins in the hands of the three people suddenly moved and pointed to a few words, Ice Sea Angel. Ha ha ha, he said it was the Ice Sea Angel. Several people burst into laughter. Tiger Stick, you are very strong, so you should help others as much as possible. You want to die surrounded by people. Late at night in the hospital, Yuji sat on a chair in the hospital lobby. The death of his grandfather was a big blow to Yuji, and now he just wanted to be quiet. The atmosphere was broken by the sudden appearance of Fushiguro Megumi. I am Megumi Fushiguro from Jujutsu High School. I want to talk to you now. I'm very sorry, but there's no time now. The thing in your hand is very dangerous. In a deserted place in the hospital, Fushiguro Megumi pulled out the photos on her phone and showed them to Yuji. This is it. Yuji leaned closer to the phone and looked at it carefully, then suddenly remembered something. He seemed to have picked up this thing and put it in the Psychic Research Society. I found it, so I don't mind it, but the seniors like it very much. Fushiguro Megumi showed a horrified expression on his face. What Yuji said just now meant that Sukuna's finger was not on him now, and troubles followed one after another. More than 10,000 people die mysteriously, or most of the traces are due to the curse. It seems that Yuji doesn't believe it, but Fushiguro Megumi doesn't care. Whether Yuji believes it or not, Sukuna's finger must be recovered. I continued. Schools and hospitals in particular tend to accumulate huge resentment. Negative emotions can become the source of curses. The item in your hand is a special grade cursed finger. Give it to me before someone dies. He took out the empty box in the photo on his phone and threw it to Fushiguro Megumi in front of him. He opened the wooden box that sealed the finger and was horrified to find that it was empty. Empty, empty. That is to say, what Fushiguro Megumi has been tracking is the curse left on the box, and the real finger is inside the school. He grabbed Yuji's collar angrily and said, What's inside? I told you that I was with my seniors. They seem to be saying that they are going to remove the spell outside tonight. A drop of sweat ran down his cheek, and he let go of the tiger stick in disbelief. staggering back a few steps, as if he had suffered a huge blow. Is this a very bad thing? Tiger Stick didn't understand what it meant and kept asking the stranger in front of him. This is not bad enough. In short, they will die. Fushiguro, Megumi and Yuji ran quickly on the road, not daring to stop for a moment. Once their fingers were swallowed by an unknown cursed spirit, it would be very likely that they would become the task of a special grade sorcerer. Yuji reminded Fushiguro Megumi to turn right and take a shortcut, and the two ran side by side into a small path. What's going on with this feeling of oppression? Tiger Stick stopped and stood behind the school and said, "You just stay here." He tried his best to stop Yuji from entering the school. The cursed spirit was far beyond the ability of an ordinary person like him to deal with. Even Fushiguro Megumi was not completely sure because Sukuna's fingers were too scary. He quickly climbed over the back door of the school and ran towards the 4th floor of the school. The cursed spirit was shriveled, with eyeballs all over its face, short stature, and hair all over its back. It was constantly looking for living people. Sasaki covered his mouth tightly to prevent himself from making any sound, for fear of being discovered by the cursed spirit passing by. The curse is released, but it's still so terrible. Fushiguro Wei said as he ran. Now he ran to the 4th floor as fast as he could, but he was still a step too late. What a nuisance, Jade Dog. He formed seals with his hands, and a black shadow burst out, appearing on the empty 4th floor of the school. A small cursed spirit tried to block the way, but there was no time to waste on this. As he went deeper into the floor, he felt the cursed aura getting heavier, and his expression became more serious. He had found the person, but the cursed spirit was devouring Sasaki and Iguchi, and also devouring Sukuna's fingers. It's too late. Tiger Stick kicked the glass outside the window and rushed into the 4th floor of the school. Finally, the main story begins. Feng Wuxia waited for a long time, and finally the main storyline started. Next, as long as Yuji swallowed his finger, he could test his strength. Ikibu Sukuna was equivalent to nothing, and Feng Wuxia could completely crush it. Yuji punched the cursed spirit in the face, and the face immediately sunken down. Fushiguro Megumi took the opportunity to cut off the cursed spirit's body and saved Sasaki and Iguchi. Luckily, Sukuna didn't eat his finger. Why are you eating this? Is it delicious? Taijuji took Sukuna's finger and played with it carefully. You are stupid. You want to get stronger curse power. Hurry up and give me your finger. Just as Yuji handed over his finger, a bigger curse spirit appeared, interrupting the previous plan. The Sukuna finger that he had finally got returned to Yuji's hand. The curse spirit broke through the wall of the school rooftop, and Fushiguro Megumi flew out backwards. His head was out of control and he couldn't stand up at all. He lay on the ground with blood all over his head. Yuji was grabbed, because the cursed spirit wanted the finger of Ryomen Sukuna. When Yuji was about to eat it. As long as I have the power of magic, that's enough, right? Stop it. After saying that, he ate Sukuna's finger. Fushiguro Megumi's eyes widened, because at this moment, Yuji was full of Sukuna's breath. He tore the cursed spirit in front of him with one claw, jumped onto the rooftop, and his body was shaky. Black stripes and 4 eyes appeared on Yuji's face, and then he stepped on the railing with 1 foot, looked up at the sky and laughed. It turns out that the light is only refreshing if you experience it yourself. Where are humans, where are women? This era is awesome. It's wonderful, the massacre has begun. Feng Wuxia waited for half an hour, and finally waited for the last step. He kicked the iron door of the rooftop and appeared in front of Sukuna and Fushiguro Wei. The sudden appearance of the person caught Sukuna's attention. No breath at all, heaven and curse. No, the body is not. Liang Mi and Sukuna felt the powerful aura emanating from Feng Wuxia's body, which was no weaker than that of his heyday 1,000 years ago. The worst situation has occurred, the special grade cursed creature has gained a body. Fushiguro Megumi got ready for a desperate fight. Hey, kids, don't interfere when adults are fighting. Feng Wuxia said with dissatisfaction. He had been waiting for Ryomen Sukuna to show up for several days, so how could he be disturbed by a child? Now he was looking forward to fighting Ryomen Sukuna. He instantly moved in front of Sukuna, and before Sukuna could react, he punched him in the face. Sukuna was very surprised. It's really fast, but it's fun this way. One punch hit Sukuna in front of him, and he hit the stone wall heavily. He pulled out his arm impatiently and stood up casually. The rooftop was dusty, and the huge shock wave made Fushiguro Megumi unable to stand up. He just crawled on the rooftop and watched the two fight. I thought you could please me, but you're so weak. I can knock you down with my physical strength alone. Is there no one who can dance? Feng Wuxia was obviously not satisfied with Sukuna's current strength. His playful expression was mixed with sarcasm, and he kept provoking Sukuna in front of him. You are the only man who has the courage to challenge me in the past 1,000 years. Ryuman Sukuna looked at the man in front of him meaningfully. His scarlet eyes, his extremely fast speed, and his body that was comparable to that of a top-grade sorcerer. Are you the strongest person of this era? Sukuna's mouth was stretched to his ears, and he smiled madly at Feng Wuxia. I am not the strongest, I am just an unknown person challenging you. Fire style. Great fire extinguishment. Feng Wuxia formed seals with both hands, and the flames instantly engulfed Sukuna's body, burning up most of his body, including his entire right hand. It's really hard for a finger to fight against a strong man like you. The skillful use of the reversal magician healed all the injuries at a speed visible to the naked eye. Fushiguro Wei, who was lying on the ground, was stunned. After wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the fanatical look in his eyes became more and more obvious. The man in front of him was definitely not comparable to those jumping clowns. He was a real strong man. The physical strength is estimated to be 12 fingers, plus the mysterious flame just now, plus other hidden cards, at least 14 or 15 fingers. Quickly analyze Feng Wuxia's strength. Release the slash. Feng Wuxia did not dodge, but stood in place and let Sukuna slash. He wanted to know how strong his physical strength is. Ha ha ha, it's really delightful. The last time was about 1,000 years ago. Sukuna slashed at Feng Wuxia frantically until the armor he was wearing shattered. System, can the broken armor be repaired? Ding, the main task is completed and automatically repaired. That's good. I thought that the armor was broken and I could never wear it again. He hit Sukuna's stomach with his fist, which was as big as a cattail leaf fan and as small as a lotus seed. When he punched, it was as if a huge rock weighing thousands of pounds fell from the sky, and it was as if thousands of golden needles pierced his heart. He felt a great force coming. Then there was a scream, and he fell to the ground in embarrassment. He swung his arm in the air, and a cloud of black smoke spewed out from his fist, which also made his face black and blue. He hit the wall and stopped. Invincible, confident, arrogant. It seems to be a synonym for Feng Wuxia. There are no extra words to describe the current Feng Wuxia. Noticing Feng Wuxia's scarlet eyes, he thought they were similar to Luyan's eyes, and then said dissatisfiedly. No matter what era it is always so difficult to deal with. Sukuna jumped high and pounced on Feng Wuxia like a wolf. Now Sukuna was like hitting a stone with his fist, unable to shake Feng Wuxia in the slightest. The entire teaching building collapsed under Sukuna's attack, and choking black powder floated out of the teaching building. Fushiguro Megumi looked incredulous. Although Gojo Satoru had said before that Sukuna had 20 fingers, now one finger was enough to compare to a special grade cursed spirit. Feng Wuxia's figure was not seen for a long time, and he thought she was killed by Sukuna's slash. You are nothing but this, Sukuna said sarcastically. The huge shock wave blew away the dust and powder at the scene, and the body appeared intact in front of Sukuna. I don't need the Uchiha fan at all, but I think it's good to show it to you. He took out the Uchiha fan from behind, and his right hand naturally dropped down. It's good to let Sukuna suffer a little, otherwise it will hinder his main task and plan later. Being cautious about himself is his goal. You think you can block my attack with just a broken fan? That being said, after all, Sukuna has lived for thousands of years, and he knows that the fan in his hand must be extraordinary, otherwise why would he use it now? It is similar to his own cursed tools, and has some special functions. Cursed Jujutsu Kaisen are basically offensive cursed tools, so the Uchiha fan with defense and rebound functions is something that no one has ever seen. Oh, what's going on now? Gojo Satoru, who arrived late, found an unknown mysterious man fighting with Ryuman Sukuna. Judging from his posture, he must be a top-class sorcerer at least. Teacher Gojo, why are you here? After saying hello, Gojo Satoru said, Oh, I didn't plan to come. You are injured like this. Take a picture for the second graders, look at the camera. She kept twisting her body like a wireworm. I guess there are a lot of ugly photos of Fushiguro Megumi in her phone. Compared with children, it seems that she treats Fushiguro Megumi as a friend. I don't know. This man wanted to challenge Sukuna right from the start, and he suppressed Sukuna the whole time. Interesting, really interesting. Although he only has one finger, ordinary special grade sorcerers can never beat him, because Sukuna is immortal. Even if his body is damaged, there are reversal sorcerers who can repair it. After all, it is a special grade cursed object that is missing. It is very annoying. Gojo Satoru couldn't stand it and came to the school to check. Unexpectedly, Sukuna's finger has been eaten by Itadori. It really is a perfect mixture. Gojo Satoru stood in front of Fushiguro Megumi and looked at Sukuna. Sukuna was not a threat at all, so Gojo Satoru was very bold. What are you doing with someone else's body? Give it back to me. Yuji woke up at this time. The first time he took Sukuna's finger, the impact was a bit strong, so he didn't react for a while. It was only a few minutes since the two of them fought, and Sukuna seemed very surprised. Why can you still move? Why can I still move? This is my body. I was pushed back. Sukuna slowly closed his eyes, the marks on Yuji's body disappeared, and the four eyes turned back into two, as if everything that had just happened was just an illusion. Seeing Sukuna disappear, Gojo Satoru stepped forward and grabbed Yuji. Can we exchange? I want to confirm whether you are the container or not. Tiger Stick was a little confused. He didn't know why he made this request. Tiger Stick saw everything that happened just now. Then 10 seconds, change back after 10 seconds. May, hold it for me. Gojo Satoru casually threw the kikufu he had just bought to Fushiguro Megumi, who was half kneeling on the ground. What's this? Kikumazu Amami's kikufu, a Sendai specialty, is super delicious. This person actually bought dessert before coming here. He's almost dead. Fushiguro Megumi wanted to kill Gojo Satoru at this moment. He was looking for a special cursed item. You went to buy dessert instead. You misunderstood. I was planning to eat it on the Shinkansen. Kikufu is different from other specialties. Gojo Satoru did not forget to finish off Fushiguro Megumi. As if he had not noticed Sukuna's successful switch behind him, he rushed towards Gojo Satoru in front of him. Behind, Fushiguro Megumi reminded Gojo Satoru loudly. When the smoke cleared, Gojo Satoru was sitting on Sukuna's back, while Sukuna was half kneeling on the ground, and had a deep eye contact with Fushiguro Megumi. He was so scared that he dared not move. He did not expect Gojo Satoru to be so bold. And the cream inside is top quality. Sukuna Sharan was enraged, with a furious expression on his face, and his claws reached out to Gojo Satoru mercilessly. As a result, without exception, Gojo Satoru moved away instantly. With his back against Sukuna, he said the most classic sentence. Let me show off my coolness in front of my students. He pulled Sukuna over and punched him in the back. Sukuna rolled several times in the air before stopping. 7, 8, 9. Is that about it? I can't control my body again. In an instant, Yuji's heart stopped beating, and the two switched roles, with Yuji continuing to control his body. Who on earth is this little devil called Yuzhong? He closed his eyes heavily, and the lively and cheerful Yuzhong returned. He opened his eyes and found that he seemed to have made a bigger fuss. Gojo Satoru was still sighing at Yuzhong's body. It's amazing, he can actually control it. Are there any side effects? Side effect? Does it count if I can hear that guy's voice occasionally? Gojo Satoru pointed his fingers at Yuji's forehead, and then Yuji fell into a deep sleep. It's just such a small impact, it's already a miracle. Yuji leaned on Gojo Satoru's shoulder. Fushiguro Megumi knew that Yuji had eaten Sukuna's finger. According to the cowardly character of the above, Yuji would definitely be sentenced to death. I don't want him to die. Is this a private affair? Gojo Satoru looked at Fushiguro Megumi, who was sitting on the ground. He nodded slightly, agreeing with what Gojo Satoru said. After all, it's the request of my beloved disciple, so I'll take care of it. He carried the unconscious Itadori on his back and gave a thumbs up to Fushiguro Megumi on the ground. Fushiguro Megumi and Gojo Satoru looked at Feng Wuxia standing next to them at the same time. What about you? What's the point of fighting Sukuna? The master who suddenly appeared was stronger than ordinary special grade sorcerers, and he had no curse power at all, but he was able to suppress Sukuna with one finger, plus the unknown weapon in his hand. It is estimated that his strength is far from as simple as it seems on the surface. I want to join the Jujutsu High School. The fight just now was just to show you my strength. Feng Wuxi's appearance, in the eyes of outsiders, is just a pure martial arts fanatic, blindly pursuing powerful strength and fighting with powerful people. Only by joining the Jujutsu High School can the main quests released by the system be completed. You have to give a reason. A master like you joining the technical college is a time bomb. After the incident with Geto Suguru, the technical college rarely accepted strong people. The higher-ups deliberately suppressed the students' resources, and even sent them to defeat the special grade cursed spirits in order to secretly execute Yuji. I want to fight against stronger people, the stronger the better, and the technical college is the best place for me. One day Sukuna will recover his true form, which will save me a lot of trouble in the technical high school. If someone else said this, Gojo Satoru would never believe it, but Feng Wuxi's strength is unquestionable. Even when fighting against Sukuna in his prime, he could go in and out 7 times. No problem, your reason is very good, I will recommend you to become a special grade sorcerer. So I say it again, you are sentenced to death. Gojo Satoru explained what happened to Yuji. The rope tied Yuji tightly. Yuji had just woken up, and his eyes were sleepy, with saliva on his mouth. This has nothing to do with memories. His head ached, and he obviously didn't remember what happened afterwards, but he remembered clearly what happened to Ryomen Sukuna in his body. His expression was a little bit unbelievable. He was sentenced to death for no reason. Wasn't it too hasty? No one could accept it. Gojo Satoru said helplessly. No, I tried very hard. Although it is a death sentence, the execution is suspended. Right, let me explain from the beginning. He took out the second finger of Sukuna and placed it in front of Yuji. This finger was the same as the one you ate. There were 20 fingers in total, and we had 6 of them. Sukuna had 4 arms. Sukuna threw the finger into the air, and Gojo Satoru hit the specially made barrier with one palm. The barrier was filled with unknown talismans, and a big hole appeared in the wall. Sukuna's finger was unharmed, as if it could not be killed. As you can see, this thing is indestructible, and the curse is growing day by day. He picked out the finger of Sukuna that was firmly embedded in the wall and played with it in his hand. Pointing his finger at the bound Itadori, he said, "Now it's your turn. As long as you die, the Sukuna in your body will die with you." Those old guys were very timid. They shouted that they wanted to kill you just for swallowing a finger. Isn't it funny? I think it's a waste. One finger is too big to make a fuss. So I proposed a plan to them. Wait until you swallow all the fingers together, and then execute you. There are 2 choices before Tiger Stick. Either die now, or die after swallowing all the fingers. Choose a hell you like. Yuji asked an inappropriate question, and Gojo Satoru was a little stunned. If all of Sukuna's fingers disappeared, would there be fewer victims? At this moment, Yuji thought of the old man's last words before his death, "You are strong, so you should help others." Certainly. In that case, I choose the second one. Then Gojo Satoru handed the only second finger on his hand to Itadori. A closer look revealed that Sukuna's finger was ugly and disgusting. How did he eat it at that time? Gojo Satoru stepped aside and watched Itadori eat the second finger quietly. The aura of Sukuna in his body burst out, and he even thought that Itadori could no longer suppress Sukuna's power. He raised his right hand slightly, ready to kill Itadori at any time. It tastes so bad, absolutely amazing. Gojo Satoru was now certain that Yuji was not only physically patient, but could also maintain his self-esteem without hesitation in the face of Sukuna. He's a rare talent. Gojo Satoru stepped forward and said, "Can I understand that you've made up your mind?" He scratched his head, contrary to his usual behavior, looked at the old man's portrait with a determined look, and made a secret decision in his heart. "I don't even know how I was sentenced to death. But I can't just leave the curse alone, wills are really troublesome. After all, my death is already determined." Gojo Satoru laughed. "I don't hate people like you, it looks like it will be a pleasant hell, pack your luggage today." When he opened the door, Fushiguro Megumi was standing at the door, her face full of bandages and plasters. Next, he would transfer to the magic school where Fushiguro Megumi was studying. Tokyo Metropolitan College of Jujutsu. Ha ha ha, Sukuna. Where's Sukuna? I can feel his presence. Feng Wuxia smashed the wall with one punch, and the three looked at him like a fool. I clearly felt Sukuna's breath. Yuji pointed at himself and said, the Sukuna's breath you mentioned is probably the breath I gave off when I ate my finger just now. It's really scary that Feng Wuxia caught it just by leaking the breath. It seems that this year's Jujutsu High transfer will be very interesting. By the way, Yuji, you're the third first-year student. Gojo Satoru popped up at an inopportune moment. Yuji was obviously very surprised that there were only 3 first-year students in the same school. So few. Tokyo Metropolitan College of Spell Arts is one of the only 2 institutions of spell arts education in Sakura Country. It claims to be a private religion. The college has trained many spellmasters, who use it as a base for activities after graduation. It also carries out support and missions, and is the core of the spell world. Well, anyway, you need to talk to the principal first. If you don't behave well, you will be rejected for admission, so behave well. Feng Wuxia followed behind Yuji and Gojo Satoru quietly. Oh, if I fail to get admitted, won't I be sentenced to death immediately? Tiger Stick is now in doubt and looks very funny. After all this time, aren't you the leader? It's boring to sort by something other than strength. Sukuna's mouth appeared on his face, and Yuji slapped himself in the face after noticing it. He tried to make Sukuna shut up. Sorry, it pops up every now and then. What an interesting body. Sukuna appeared in Yuji's hand and said. When I seize this brat's body, I will kill you first. What Sukuna said was true, but later he would seize Fushiguro Megumi's body, because the Tenkage and the Hollow Raw were relatively easier to beat than Gojo Satoru. The Mangekyo Sharingan emerged, staring at Sukuna. Now the oppression that Feng Wuxia gave Sukuna was no less than that of the 6 eyes. Eyes I've never seen before, very interesting. Sukuna was talking to himself, not paying any attention to the 3 people present. He slapped Sukuna on the mouth. Yuji didn't know Sukuna's name at all. Is it so famous? Yuji asked doubtfully. Ryomen Sukuna is a 2-headed, 4-armed ghost, but he is a real human being. That was 1,000 years ago. In the heyday of the sorcerer, he fought him out of his body, but still failed. So, how was Sukuna sealed? Gojo Satoru couldn't answer either, and could only deal with a few words hastily. 1,000 years ago, the strongest Curse King, all the sorcerers tried to suppress him but failed. There was a more powerful existence that sealed Sukuna, and Sukuna couldn't have committed suicide. Because the first thing Sukuna did when he came to the world was to laugh wildly at the sky, which obviously meant that he was sealed by something more powerful. Who is stronger, the teacher or you? Sukuna takes back all the power, it will be a bit tricky. Will you lose? I will win. Feng Wuxia remained silent. In fact, he had already guessed the ending. There was a reason why Sukuna cursed the king. He was immortal and had super strong power. It doesn't matter, I'll take action when the time comes. The 3 of them walked into the dark room side by side. The flame of an oil lamp kept flickering. The wooden door behind them closed automatically. Principal Yi Moth said dissatisfiedly. You are so slow, Wu. You are 8 minutes late. But you won't be scolded for that. Didn't I tell you to change your bad habit of being late? Yega Zhengdao used needle and thread to sew the doll in his hand, adjusting it carefully and continuously. The surroundings were filled with dolls he made himself. Yuji was struck by lightning. Uncle is making cute dolls. It was totally unrelated to reality. Is that him? Yimo Zhengdao muttered to himself. My name is Yuji Itadori, and I like Jennifer Lawrence. Itadori was the first to speak and introduce himself. What are you here for? I asked you, what are you doing at the Jujutsu High School? Why did you learn the art of spellcasting and the means of removing cursed spirits? Yemo Zhengdao asked his soul 3 times in a row, and Yuji stood there at a loss. This, Tiger Stick hasn't figured out how to answer yet. I want to take back Sukuna's finger. Yuji said, because in the beginning he chose to postpone the death penalty in order to take back Sukuna's finger. People you don't know die all the time. Yega Masamiki said seriously, as if he was educating the younger generation. Gojo Satoru stood next to Yuji and said with a curled lip, "It starts again. You can't just sit back and watch the casualties caused by the curse. Last words are just that, the details don't matter. Last words. It seems that you are following someone else's orders to fight the curse." Unqualified, Yimo Jungdao shouted, and the green doll under his feet slowly stood up. "What about you? Why did you come to the Jujutsu High School?" Feng Wuxia had nothing to say. He came to the Jujutsu High School just to challenge Sukuna, complete the main task of the system, and live a more free life. I came to Jujutsu High School to challenge stronger people. Challenge Sukuna in its heyday. I have no other ideas. Constantly challenging the strong is what I have always dreamed of. Yimoth Jungdao stroked his beard and said that there was nothing wrong with what he said, but it would be a bit troublesome to manage in the future. Very good, very arrogant. But I like it, congratulations on passing. Compared to Yuzhong, Principal Yage meant that Yuzhong was completely relying on the old man's last words. He had no goals and would not achieve anything even if he entered the technical college. This level was very simple. With a strong sense of purpose and strong personal strength, he passed the test directly. The green cursed skeleton hit Yuzhong's stomach. Yuzhong, who had no time to react, hurriedly blocked it with his backpack. But it was useless, and he flew out with a punch. Is this really a doll? Tiger Stick was very confused. No matter how you look at it, the doll looks like a human. The green cursed corpse fiddled with its body and even danced in front of them. The more humans are in crisis, the more likely they are to reveal their true feelings. As long as Yimo Jungdao doesn't hear the answer he wants, he will keep attacking Tiger Stick. I already said that these are the last words of my loved ones. Tiger Stick knocked the green doll away, and the doll hit the oil lamp, and the whole room suddenly became dark. Curse quartz seemed to be elastic, bouncing around in the room, and it was impossible to catch his figure. It was also impossible to judge the direction of attack. Curse quartz found the right time and knocked Tiger Stick away again. Tiger Stick rolled several times before stopping. Seeing that the time was ripe, Yimo Jungdao stepped forward and said, "Relatives are also someone else's. The sorcerer is always accompanied by death. And also face ordinary people who are often cursed and killed. And you just do whatever others tell you to do." Yimo Jungdao said with a sharp look in his eyes, slightly dissatisfied. "It's ridiculous. There is no such thing as a death without regrets for a sorcerer. I'm asking you again, why did you come to study at the Sorcery High School?" Feng Wuxia was dumbfounded by the operation. She didn't expect Principal Yimoth to be so cruel. He beat Tiger Stick so hard that his face was covered with bruises. He had no intention of educating him at all. Swallowing Sukuna's fingers, "Only I can do it. Even if there is no reprieve, I will not escape. I don't want to regret choosing the wrong way to live." Tiger Stick hugged the green cursed skeleton and gave a passionate and generous speech, and Yimoth Jungdao finally agreed. "Ah Wu, take them both to the dormitory. I have submitted Feng Wuxia's application for the special grade sorcerer, and the result will be available in a few days. I don't know Yimo Jungdao, and even Gojo Satoru recommended it, so there will be a result soon. Maybe the special grade certificate can be obtained tomorrow." "Is it hard to find Sukuna's finger?" Yuji was puzzled. Gojo Satoru blocked Yuji's mouth with his fingers and said to him with his face close to Yuji, "If it were so easy to find, we would have found it all long ago. Nothing is harder to find than this. But now that you are here, the Sukuna in your body will tell you where the fingers are in order to gain more power." Tiger Stick is not only a container, but also a detector and radar, so wherever there are fingers, Tiger Stick must be present. As for Feng Wuxia, he lives on the right side of Tiger Stick, and Fushiguro Megumi lives on the left side of Tiger Stick. "And you, do you want to be a student or a teacher?" Gojo Satoru turned to look at Feng Wuxia, who was silent, and the choice was in his hands. Even if he was a student, he would just be with Yuji and perform more tasks. Of course, if he chose to be a student, Gojo Satoru would be more assured of Yuji, because he was not by Yuji's side, and Feng Wuxia could effectively watch over Sunuo. Being a teacher is so boring. I have to listen to that bearded uncle talk every day. As a student, I have more room to move around. Besides, wouldn't it be better if I could be with Sukuna? Feng Wuxia grinned. It didn't matter to him whether he was a student or a teacher. Students participated in the task just to complete it better. It didn't mean that teachers couldn't interfere with students' tasks. In that case, let's go pick up the last student next. Wild Rose stretched her body and felt sore all over after sitting on the tram for 4 hours. Sorry for the long wait, have the school uniforms arrived? Fushiguro Megumi and Yuji looked at Gojo Satoru, who had arrived late. Oh, the school uniform has arrived, and it fits me perfectly. Yuji is a little confused as to why his school uniform is different from Fushiguro Megumi and Fangwu's. Be careful, Gojo-sensei sometimes does this. Fushiguro Megumi warned. By the way, why do we have to gather in Harajuku? The last freshman, Nobara, is coming soon, but her appearance is a bit special, which is quite embarrassing. System, open them all. It's not good for Fangwu's to walk on the road like this. After all, he has merged with the dirty world. He has long hair and a fan on his back. Ding, the mall is opened successfully. The storage space in the first row attracts attention. Buy storage space. Congratulations to the host for purchasing storage space. At the same time, Tiger Stick noticed that Fangwu's appearance had changed. His long black hair became shorter and turned white. He looked like a normal student, and his face had changed a lot. Don't mind it, it's just my special ability. Fangwu's waved his hand, signaling the people in the city not to mind it. Model, I mean, how am I? Yi Qiangwei grabbed the agent who was trying to escape. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. He tried to run away in a panic, but the Wild Rose behind him didn't give him any chance. Should we go say hello to that guy? How embarrassing. At this time, Yuji was wearing pink glasses and holding popcorn in his hand. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Yuji's outfit and said, I think your outfit is also quite embarrassing. Hey, over here, over here. Gojo Satoru called Nobara over. What does that eye patch look like? Yi Qiangwei was quite interested in the eye patch. Fangwu's half-jokingly said, don't mind it, because he is blind. Fushiguro Megumi. Single 6. My name is Yuji Itadori, and I'm from Sendai. My name is Fushiguro Megumi. From the perspective of Nobara Kugasaki, Yuji looks rustic and must have eaten boogers when he was a child. Fushiguro Megumi only said his name to act cool and uninterested. The white-haired man in armor next to him didn't say a word and was even less interested. Humph, it's rare that all the first-year students are here, and they are all from other places. Of course we have to have some Tokyo sightseeing. Tiger Tsubasa and Nobara were dancing with excitement, while Fushiguro Megumi had already guessed Gojo Satoru's nature. Fangwu's knew the plot, and stood beside him with Fushiguro Megumi, watching the two fooling around. Next up is announcing the destination. Roppongi. 5 minutes later, a residential building that exuded a cursed aura and was lifeless, and was rumored to be an abandoned hospital that had been uninhabited for years, appeared in front of him. Sure enough, what good places can Gojo-sensei find? Fushiguro Megumi seems to have guessed it long ago. It's a scam. They only know how to bully us outsiders. Tiger Root and Wild Rose were like crazy. What happened to the Tokyo sightseeing in Roppongi? What about the abandoned building next to the cemetery? I want to know your strength, which is similar to the practical test. Gojo Satoru said. You guys get rid of the curse. Yuji had no cursed power, so he said to Gojo Satoru, huh. But I don't have any cursed power. Gojo Satoru pointed at Yuji and said, now that you have eaten Sukuna's finger, it is a curse in itself. It takes time to learn how to manipulate cursed power, so use this first. He handed the curse tool, Tuzuoma, to Tiger Stick, and used it to deal with the curse. Good soil, Wild Rose complained beside. What about me? I am also a freshman. Do I need to take the assessment? Fangwu's pointed at herself. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Fangwu's like a fool. She was so strong, why were you so persistent in taking the assessment for freshmen? You don't need to, I know your strength. That's right. Gojo Satoru handed Fangwu's the special grade sorcerer certificate that he applied for yesterday. He didn't expect that it would be completed in one day. Those old guys up there seem to be afraid of you, ha ha ha. Gojo Satoru still doesn't forget to laugh at those old, aging high-ranking officials. Not only Gojo Satoru, but many sorcerers are dissatisfied with the high-ranking officials, so later Otsutsuki Yuta pretended to rebel, and the old rocker regretted killing the moth. The sorcery world needs to be thoroughly cleaned up. It's boring to wait here, let's go to the dessert shop. Gojo Satoru pulled the two away from the cemetery. After a long period of no limit, Gojo Satoru needed to replenish his sweets. In the abandoned residential building, the two had no idea that they were removing the curse, and the three of them went to eat dessert. Do you really not need to worry about them? How about I go too? In the dessert shop, Fushiguro Megumi was worried and made this request. You have just recovered from a serious illness. Don't force yourself. And this is a test designed for Wild Rose and has nothing to do with Yuji. In fact, Yuji's strength has been seen since the beginning. He has Sukuna's curse in his body, so ordinary cursed spirits can't beat Yuji at all. Isn't Tiger Stick a key surveillance target? Feng Wuxia said. He can control the lodging Nuo, so don't worry about it for now. Besides, you are also a key surveillance target, but those old guys don't dare to say it openly. The words are full of ridicule for the top management. If Gojo Satoru hadn't saved Yuta Otsutsukatsu and stood on the side of the Jews last year, a special grade sorcerer might have disappeared from the world. Anyone who threatens their status will be eliminated. It's so boring. Why do we have to deal with cursed spirits in Tokyo? Kugasaki Nobara was a little dissatisfied, with a slightly ferocious look in the corners of her eyes. Aren't we specialized in removing curses? Following behind Wild Rose, they wanted to finish the test quickly, so Wild Rose suggested that Tiger Stick go below and Wild Rose go above, splitting up into two groups, which was unanimously approved. Let's finish our work and go eat sushi. Be a little more serious, the curse is still very dangerous. Yuji warned. Because the curse of Tokyo and the small curse of Wild Rose's hometown are completely different. Underestimating the enemy will only hurt yourself. I want to know, what happened to the Geto Shiu case last year? The three of them sat in the dessert shop and talked freely. When talking about Geto Shiu, Gojo Satoru's face darkened, as if he had something to hide. Fushiguro Megumi only knew that Geto Shiu was the teacher's best friend, and his only best friend. We've finished eating, let's go take a look. Gojo Satoru did not answer Feng Wuxia directly, but changed his usual behavior. Perhaps the matter of his best friend was a pain in his heart that he did not want to mention. Curse masters are more or less twisted. Take Yuji as an example. When facing alien curse spirits, normal people's reaction is fear. They don't even have time to escape, but Yuji can kill them without hesitation. He is just an ordinary high school student, who is in contact with curses for the first time, unlike Fushiguro Megumi, who has been in contact with them all the time. There are many curse masters who have talent but cannot overcome the fear in their hearts. Let's see how twisted Wild Rose is today. The three of them sat on the cement pipe downstairs, waiting for Tiger Stick and Wild Rose to pass the test. The second floor was covered with stone statues, and Wild Rose kicked open the door. You cursed spirit over there, do you really think I can't see you? He took out a nail and hammered it directly into the head of the stone statue. Yuji was right, the curse in Tokyo was much stronger than other places. The more people there were, the stronger the curse was, this was an unchanging truth. The knocked down stone statue stood up slowly with its waist twisted in a weird posture, its entire face was covered with eyes. It stared straight at Wild Rose. Feng Wuxia, go to the second floor and take a look. Maybe she needs help. What a hassle, I have to deal with a small curse. He complained a little and walked straight into the abandoned residential building. He happened to see Yuji beheading the cursed spirit with a cursed tool, and he was still bragging about himself. I'm really sensitive. He patted Tiger Stick's shoulder, and Tiger Stick, who had no psychological defense, was shocked. Turning around, I found that it was Feng Wuxia who appeared at some point, and I breathed a sigh of relief for the time being. Let's go up to the second floor, Wild Rose needs help. Tiger Stick was surprised. The cursed spirit tested was not strong at all. Why did Wild Rose need help? The cursed spirit is not strong. What if it holds a hostage? A cursed spirit of a higher level will have self-awareness, just like the clepsydra and the flower god. Beasts with wisdom can sometimes put people in a cruel balance. The scales that measure the weight of life. Should we kill the cursed spirit regardless of the hostages, or let the cursed spirit lay down its weapons and succeed? I'm such a fool. Under the threat of the cursed spirit, Wild Rose finally chose to lay down her weapon, but the cursed spirit did not choose to let her go. What a wrong decision. Never try to trust outsiders. Not only said to Yuzhong, but also to Yi Qiangwei. Feng Wuxia punched through the wall with his right hand, and crushed the cursed spirit's right hand with one hand. The cursed spirit, who lost his arm, abandoned the hostage and fled in panic. Yuzhong found the right opportunity to cut off the cursed spirit's left hand. The cursed spirit passed through the wall. Oh no, it's going to run away. Don't worry, it can't run away. Next, according to the plot, Wild Rose took out the scarecrow and hammered a nail into its heart. The cursed spirit will disappear. Gojo Satoru, who was at the bottom of the building, looked at the cursed spirit disappearing in the air and muttered to himself, "Not bad, it's twisted enough." The whole building was shaky, as if it would collapse in the next moment. What did you do? Yi Qiangwei looked at Feng Wuxia in surprise. It's nothing, I just accidentally broke the load-bearing wall and steel bars. This is what people say. What does it mean to accidentally break something? What a big commotion. Gojo Satoru and Fushiguro Megumi ran a long way away, and then the building collapsed and they were the victims. Come closer to me, don't blame me if you get hurt later. Feng Wuxia was about to show off some of his abilities, but Sukuna was there all the time, just not saying anything. He opened his blue skeleton and surrounded the three people. The next moment, the whole building collapsed. The dust lingered for a long time, and the outsiders could not see clearly what was going on inside. A blue skeleton appeared, just protecting the three people. Disperse. Seeing that Tiger Stick and Wild Rose were intact, he released the skeleton form of Susanoo. This was just the tip of the iceberg of his ability. How many secrets do you have? I am becoming more and more interested in you. An untimely voice appeared, and Ryomen Sukuna appeared on Yuji's face again. Thousands of years ago, there were also 6 eyes and no lower limit, but they were all derivative abilities of the 6 eyes. Today, the strange blue skeleton, the strong sense of oppression, and the scarlet eyes are enough to compare to the 6 eyes. Don't think about me anymore, you are not qualified now. Feng Wuxia responded coldly to Sunuo. Pa pa pa. Gojo Satoru came over while clapping his hands. Thank you for your hard work. The child has been sent home. Now let's get serious and go eat. Steak, sushi, no problem, leave it to me. Alway, what about you? Megumi Fushiguro was scrolling through her phone, not knowing what she was looking at. Gojo. Satoru pushed Itadori and Nobara forward. Let's go then. Nishitokyo City, Eiji Juvenile Detention Center. Several non-sorcerers witnessed a special-grade false ghost cursed fetus. A golden egg appeared in the sky, and the object inside could be clearly seen. It was like a huge placenta floating in the air, extremely strange. The prisoners below immediately noticed this anomaly and gathered together. The situation was urgent, and 3 first-year students, a total of 3 people, went to the scene. 3 hours ago, the window confirmed the existence of the cursed fetus. Evacuate the people on the scene, order the scene to be blocked, and all residents within a radius of 500 meters were evacuated. Mr. Ijichi, what is a window? The window refers to the people related to the high school who can see the curse. In the second prison dormitory, there are still 5 prisoners living with the cursed fetus. It was agreed in advance that the cursed fetus could grow and it was very likely to become a special grade. Special grade. The 3 were shocked. A special grade mission required a special grade sorcerer to take on the mission. Where is Feng Wuxia? Why didn't he come? Yidiji rolled his glasses and said to the 3 people in front of him, Mr. Feng is a special grade sorcerer. He doesn't need to accept ordinary tasks. He has been assigned another task, and Mr. Gojo is on a business trip, so you are the only ones who can handle it now. When encountering a special grade cursed spirit, there are only 2 options. Run or die. Please obey your inner fear. The 3 people's mission is only to find and rescue survivors. Feng Wuxia finished the mission early. According to the main plot timeline, Yuji and others are still dealing with the cursed fetus. It happened that Nozomi and his group were drinking coffee in a store and discussing the plan to seal Gojo Satoru. So Feng Wuxia checked the place in advance and sat in the store waiting for Nozomi. Is it really necessary to test one's strength with just 1 finger? The leaky pot asked Sukuso, and it was clear that Sukuno's finger was very precious. There are also gains. The rope closed his eyes, and to the others it looked like a person talking to the air, and they all moved away from the rope. I really hope you're not making excuses. Welcome, is this you? The waiter said with a smile. Well, 1. Humanity is made of lies. Positive emotions and behaviors on the surface must have a negative side. They are all genuine feelings, and the leak pots are born from negative curses. So we are the most authentic human beings. Leakage Pot slammed the table and said, fakes should be eliminated. But the current situation is that you are being destroyed by the sorcerer. Nozomi's words were true, and instantly woke up Luhu. That's why Luhu and Wayu found Nozomi, hoping to find a way to defeat the sorcerer. He stretched out 2 fingers. You can win if you meet 2 conditions. First, make the strongest sorcerer Gojo Satoru unable to fight. Second, win over the 2 Sukuna, that is, Yuji Itadori. I'm quitting this job now. The waiter stood there in fear because he could see the cursed spirit. Table number 5 hasn't placed an order yet, go and urge them. Sorry, manager, I quit. After the waiter said this, he threw away his clothes and ran out of the store immediately, running as far as he could at the fastest speed. Hello, customer, what would you like to order? As soon as the store manager finished speaking, he seemed to be on fire. The female clerk next to him saw this scene and screamed in fear. What a trouble, I told you not to cause a commotion. How about this? Lehu pointed with both hands, and the people in the store were set on fire one after another. The 2 female students were on fire before they could react, curled up on the ground in pain. The only remaining clerk couldn't stand steadily, and tried to climb out of the store in fear. How many fingers do I have strength in now? At the highest, it's only 8 or 9 fingers. The leak pot smiled sinisterly at Sha Yuji. In exchange, I will kill Gojo Satoru. The last clerk was burned to death by the leak pot before he opened the door, and he was in great pain. Little did he know that Feng Wuxia, who was sitting in the corner, watched every move in front of him and did not stop it. Because he could not interfere with the main line, the strength he showed next could not destroy the main line. Otherwise, the subsequent plot changes might be beyond his control. It's really wonderful. I thought no one's attainment in fire could catch up with me. Leakage Pot, Wayu and Nozomi looked at Feng Wuxia in the corner with some meaning. There are still some fish that slipped through the net. As a figure who lived thousands of years ago, it is natural for Lu Suo to see that Feng Wuxia is not a simple person. Don't be impulsive, I don't think he is an ordinary person, I can't even sense his existence. Of course, because Feng Wuxia has no magical power, and he insists that he is using chakra. He is well hidden, and Gojo Satoru and Sukuna will not discover his existence. I can't sense any curse power from him, heaven and curse binding. Same guess, unfortunately wrong. It's just a fish that slipped through the net, what's there to be afraid of? Luhu rushed forward, and with both hands he created flames, hitting Feng Wuxia. With his whole body on fire, Luhu turned back handsomely, that's all. It turns out that humans nowadays are all hypocritical. Really, the next moment Feng Wuxia appeared in front of everyone intact. Your flame temperature is just right, it's a good choice for heating. Feng Wuxia mocked, and Leaky Pot seemed to have received a huge blow, and he felt bad all over. The temperature in the store rose sharply, and it was so high that it almost melted people. That's it, just a little higher temperature. What did you say, you little fool? The volcano on the top of the clepsydra spurted out a raging flame, and the store was surrounded by flames, which was not a place for people to stay. Fire style. Dragon flame song technique. Madara used against the 5 cages. 4 fire dragons were ejected from his mouth and attacked the target from 4 directions, top, bottom, left, and right. The hit rate was almost 100%, similar to Uchiha Sasuke's fire style, Great Fire Dragon technique. What? 4 fire dragons rushed towards the people present. Luosuo was the first to run out of position. The flames they spewed out were very terrifying, and the temperature was far higher than the flames of the clepsydra. We are no match for him. His flames alone are as powerful as 8 Sukuna fingers. Nozomi's judgment was correct. Feng Wuxia only showed flames, and he still had many ninjutsu in his hands. He just wanted them to be afraid of him. His current strength was not as strong as Yutoku's. All he had to do was to make them afraid of him, that's all. He has such a strong body, isn't he afraid of pain? At least he is a top-class sorcerer. As far as Nozomi knows, except for Gojo Satoru who failed to hit, no one else should have similar skills. The flames really hit Feng Wuxia just now, but he was a reincarnated body. He didn't feel any pain at all, and the places burned by the flames recovered in an instant. This created the illusion that he was not afraid of flames and that flames had no effect on him. Sorry for the noise. You have disturbed the mood of orange juice and me. Pay the money, as well as the mental damage compensation and the cost of attacking me. Pay the money. Feng Wuxia's words made the three people stay where they were. It seemed so. He was just drinking a beverage, but Lukaku attacked him as soon as he came up. Adhering to the principle of less trouble is better than more, Noso gave Feng Wuxia a lot of money that Yuji had saved. He was afraid that if he gave too little, he would attack him again. Now Noso's body is not suitable for fighting, because he only has abilities. The cursed spirits he swallowed are far inferior to Yuji, and the cursed power is the same. He doesn't plan to take the money, and he will return it to Gojo Satoru when he goes there. You can go now, while I'm still in a good mood. The Scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan stared at the three people. To be honest, it was the first time in their lives that they had seen such oppressive eyes. The pattern of the eyes would change accordingly. Nozomi, Loco and Hana Yu left the coffee shop. After seeing the three people leave, Feng Wuxia didn't need to stay any longer. The onlookers outside had already called the police, and they might think of him as a murderer. Excuse me, where is Jung? Is my son Jung okay? 5 or 6 strong men stopped the lady outside the detention center. It was obvious that she was Jung's mother. Yuji couldn't bear it, looking at the thin body, helpless expression, low voice and lost eyes. Seeing Yuji's look, Aijichi quickly stood in front of Yuji. No matter what, you must not act on impulse. When doing a mission, your own safety should always be the priority. This is the limit of a sorcerer. If you act on impulse, you will die. Please go back. The detention center might have been poisoned. Yidiji explained that this is all he could reveal at the moment. I come to lower the curtains. Born in darkness, darker than darkness. All the remaining filth and dirt, all removed. Oh, it's night time now. Yuji said excitedly. It was the first time he had seen such a scene. Fushiguro Megumi patiently explained. This is the curtain, this is the barrier that hides us from outsiders. Jade Dog. Fushiguro Megumi summoned a Shikigami, and a snow-white wolf appeared. If the curse approached, he would notify Fushiguro Megumi. What is this? The scene inside the detention center was like countless time and space overlapping together, intricate and complicated. Many unreasonable places appeared. It seemed that there were only 3 floors from the outside, but after entering the detention center, there was no end in sight. This was a living domain unfolded by cursed power. It was the first time to see such a large living domain. Fushiguro Megumi reacted and turned his head in horror and said, "Where is the entrance?" Hearing the voice, Itadori and Nobara turned their heads at the same time. The entrance just now turned into a wall at this moment, as if the door had never appeared. The door disappeared. The door turned into countless twisted pipes, and Yuzhong took 2 steps back in doubt. Don't panic, the Jade Dog remembers the smell of the exit. Let's go forward. The 3 continued to move forward, carefully observing every corner. In the dark room, a body cut in half appeared. It seemed that it had suffered great fear before death. Its mouth was wide open, and its eyes were white. It was hard to imagine how helpless it was at that time. How tragic. After removing his clothes, the name on them was Ah Jung. His mother was still questioning him just now, but she didn't expect that he would be found dead in the detention center the next moment. We'll leave the body here. We still need to confirm the deaths of 2 more people. Fushiguro Megumi held Yuji. He knew Yuji wanted to take the body out. After all, it was the most painful thing to lose a person alive or a body dead. Are you kidding? They are hopeless scum, I don't want to save their bodies. Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi quarreled and pulled each other's collars. Okazaki Masaru, this guy drove without a license and hit and killed a girl who was returning home from school. And it was the second time he drove without a license. What if the person you rescued continues to harm others? Are you done yet? You should choose a place to quarrel. After saying this, Wild Rose disappeared. Before Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi could react, she disappeared without a trace. Nagi. Zaki. Impossible, the Jade Dog didn't sense the curse. Before the two could react, they found the Jade Dog's body embedded in the wall. Let's escape. After we escape, we will look for Kugasaki Nobara. The two opened their eyes wide, and the cursed spirit appeared in the middle, and it appeared suddenly without any breath. It's definitely a special grade. Fushiguro Megumi and Yuji stood there, not daring to move. Yuji pulled out the Tuzuo demon and slashed at the special grade cursed spirit fiercely. But the next second, Yuji's right hand broke, and the knife flew out with it. Even the hand broke so quickly that the pain didn't catch up. Sukuna, if I die you will die too, help me. Sukuna's mouth and eyes appeared on Yuji's face, and he said teasingly. I refuse. Even if you die, I still have 18 souls scattered around. The hateful thing is that I don't control this body. If you want to exchange, then exchange. After you make the exchange, I will kill the little devil next to you first. Don't just talk, or you'll really die, ha ha ha. The breath of the cursed spirit is so strong. Feng Wuxia finished the task and followed the system's prompts to come to the detention center. System, open the mall. Ding, the mall is opened successfully. Because the host's original god activated the secret code. So if you have enough points, you can buy all of them. No restriction. Current points, 150 points. The most expensive item in the system mall is the copy ability. The note below says that copying can use the other party's abilities without restrictions, and there are no side effects. Why are you here? The superiors hadn't told Feng Wuxia about her arrival, and Yidigi had only just noticed that Feng Wuxia. It's okay, the task is completed. You do your thing, I'll go in and take a look and deal with the cursed fetus. System, enough to buy unlimited traffic capacity. Unrestricted capacity, whether it is the field of birth or the field. Hosts can enter without restriction. A very buggy ability. Purchase successful, remaining points, 0. It's getting late, and now it's likely that Yuji will face the special grade cursed spirit, and Fushiguro Megumi will come out soon. Find Fushiguro Megumi and Nobara first, and then bring them out. As for Sukuna, he must come out. When Sukuna and Fushiguro Megumi fight and Sukuna takes a fancy to Fushiguro Megumi, it will be the most appropriate time for Feng Wuxia to appear. Only by treating Fushiguro Megumi as a subsequent container can the subsequent plot not collapse. Feng Wuxia entered the detention center smoothly under the nose of Eijichi. Am I seeing right? Mr. Feng went through the wall. A pungent smell of blood filled the air. Apparently, many people died in the detention center, and the bodies were not far away. It released pure power, not cursed power, it is teasing us. Fushiguro, you take Kugasaki and run away, I'll hold this guy back, you guys just give me a signal. Then I'll let Sukuna out. Fushiguro, please. A black jade dog ran in front of Fushiguro Megumi, and just as he gave the order, he went to find Kugasaki Nobara. There is only one left. Wild Rose looked at the nail in her hand worriedly. The sky was filled with countless curses. If she had known, she would have brought more. Just when Wild Rose was about to be eaten, a frog appeared and grabbed Wild Rose with its tongue. Ah, I hate frogs. I'm really sorry. Yashikani no Magatama is a general ninjutsu of Susanoo, which can only be used in Susanoo second form. Susanoo throws out multiple Magatama for long-range attack. A blue giant appeared in front of the two. The densely packed cursed spirits in the sky were all shot down. You guys did a great job, leave the rest to me. Seeing Feng Wuxia coming, he finally felt relieved. Special grade sorcerer Feng Wuxia enters the detention center, and the matter is no longer under the control of Fukuro Wei and Yi Qiangwei. Wild Rose needs treatment, take her out quickly, and leave the rest to me. Tiger Stick is still in there, we must find him. Feng Wuxia patted Fushiguro Hui's shoulder and said, don't worry, we will find him. After exchanging the wall passing skill, it is much faster than walking in a straight line. At the same time, Yuji Itadori in the detention center fell heavily to the ground. His right hand was broken and he couldn't stand up quickly. He couldn't react to the huge impact for a while, and his eyes turned white. A woo! The sound echoed outside the detention center. Although the sound was very small, it was still caught by Tiger Stick's ears. Great, Fushiguro and the others escaped. Yuji finally smiled, and then spots appeared on the corners of his mouth and face, and Sukuna appeared. This kid is really annoying. Sukuna is like a younger brother. If Yuji wants him to come out, he has to come out. If he wants him to go back, he has to go back. I was totally underestimated. I want to think about how to make this kid regret it. The cursed child protected himself with both hands. Sukuna's aura was too strong. Sukuna talked to himself, not caring how scared the cursed child was. Come with me, let's go kill that little devil. He hooked his finger, signaling the weak cursed child to follow him. The cursed child was speechless at this moment, and tremblingly condensed the curse power, trying to attack Sukuna. Idiot! Sukuna used the reversal magician to restore his broken right hand and easily blocked the attack of the cursed child. The attack was unharmed. Oh no, this hand has also recovered. Sukuna was obviously a little dissatisfied. The attack of the cursed spirit was because he had restored Yuji's right hand. Wasn't that a bargain for this kid? Don't want to take a walk. That's right, the cursed spirit will only stay where it was born and cannot leave. In this case, you will die here. Sukuna dodged, grabbed the cursed spirit's head with one hand, and smashed it hard on the ground. A big hole was smashed on the ground. Is there nothing else to do so soon? Curse Fetus raised his head with difficulty and stared at Sunuo with his eyes, but it was no use. That's it, work harder. He stepped on the connecting stone, and the entire bridge collapsed, splashing water on the water. Sukuna laughed crazily. Even though it's a cursed spirit, it will still hurt if your hand is broken. At some point, the cursed child's broken hand appeared on Sukuna's hand, as if it was just a matter of a moment. The cursed child, who had just reacted, looked at his missing arm and suddenly became angry. You and I are at the same level, both are special grade. Neither you nor this boy know anything about curses. This is a good opportunity, let me tell you. What is real magic? The domain is expanded, and the devil is subdued and the chef is defeated. All living and non-living things with magical power in the domain will be chopped to pieces. Feng Wuxia quietly watched Sukuna expand the domain. The system helped him block his aura, so Sukuna didn't notice him. It's really scary. I wonder if the second stage Susanoo can withstand the domain. Maybe the second stage is a little uncertain, but the complete Susanoo can not only ignore the effect of the domain, but also burst the domain. The cursed fetus had 5 stages of schizophrenia, and his body was torn into pieces. He died in an instant. Although it is a special grade, it can't last for a few seconds against the Curse King of 1,000 years ago. You are really weak, I will take this. Sukuna took out his finger from the chest of the cursed child, and his expression was not very happy. It was obvious that he was being used as a little brother. If you want to exchange, do it quickly. When Sukuna saw that Yuji didn't want to exchange, he showed an extremely weird smile on his face, which made people tremble all over. Outside the detention center, Fushiguro Megumi felt that the field of life was closed, and the special grade must have died, but he couldn't tell whether it was Feng Wuxia who killed him or Sukuna. After all, before Fushiguro Megumi left, Yuji had said that he would let Sukuna out. 2 fingers plus the fingers just now, a total of 3, Feng Wuxia can easily deal with Sukuna. Fushiguro Megumi didn't care too much, as long as he waited for Yuji to come back safely. Bang! A loud noise came from the detention center, and some people were fighting in the detention center. Oh, I wondered who it was, it turned out to be you. Feng Wuxia appeared silently behind Sukuna. Sukuna never understood why he had such a strong power without any cursed power. I am very interested in you, and I will uncover your secrets bit by bit. Tisk, how disgusting. Feng Wuxia didn't care and retorted to Sukuna. Even if it was Sukuna in his prime, he would still have the strength to fight. The body of the impure world reincarnation is not a boast. So, what is your purpose here? Sukuna didn't want to fight. He finally got control of his body. Don't be beaten back. I have no purpose, I just want to see how strong you are, whether you are qualified to let me practice with you. Now there are 3 fingers in the body of Tiger Stick. Although there are only 3 fingers, it is not comparable to ordinary special level ones. Fire Escape. Dragon Flame Song Technique. Fang Wuxia spewed out 5 fire dragons from his mouth and flew quickly towards Sukuna. Sukuna released a slash, unable to block but cut off Fang Wuxia's fire dragons. New moves. Interesting. Your body is so interesting. Too bad, you are not a vessel. When I recover my strength, I will kill Gojo Satoru first, and you second. How shameless. Impure world reincarnation can only seal, not kill, and he has already exchanged for the skill of unlimited passage. Even if Yuman Zhang can't seal him, he is theoretically an immortal and indestructible existence that cannot be sealed. From the first time Sukuna saw Fushiguro Megumi, he knew that Fushiguro Megumi was the most important chess piece. I don't have time to argue with you, I have things to do. Sukuna punched through the wall of the detention center and quickly came behind Fushiguro Megumi. Oh, things, I think you are not doing anything good. Sukuna appeared quietly behind Fushiguro Megumi. In order to keep the subsequent plot unchanged, he and Sukuna just taunted each other, without any substantial confrontation. Ding! Sukuna vs. Fushiguro Megumi. In line with the original work, points added plus 100. Next, as long as Fushiguro Megumi is favored by Sukuna, he can attack without hesitation. It's a good opportunity to test how strong Sukuna's 3 fingers are, and whether it's worth using some of his real skills. It's the most uncomfortable to have something that can't be taken out. Too bad boy, he's not coming back. He used me without scruples, and this is the price. Sukuna is in a good mood now, still chatting with Fushiguro Megumi. He reaches into the body with one hand and pulls out Yuji's heart. As long as the exchange is a moment, Yuji will die. It's rare to be out, let's go around. Sukuna smoothed his messy hair. Fushiguro Megumi summoned Shikigami to cooperate with him in attacking, and kept swinging his fists and feet at Sukuna, but Sukuna dodged them all. It's quite interesting. He summoned a Shikigami, but he attacked by himself. Sukuna had already seen through Fushiguro Megumi's tricks and kept teasing him. Not enough, not enough. As if he was not satisfied with Fushiguro Megumi's attack, he mocked Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi, who was angry and wanted to save Yuji, looked at Sukuna who was asking for a beating. Sukuna pulled Fushiguro Megumi's attacking fist and pulled the distance to form a perfect ratio. To outsiders, it seemed like he was playing with a new toy. Come on, inject more curses. He slapped Fushiguro Megumi in the face, spitting out 2 mouthfuls of blood, staggering and almost falling off his feet. Orochi summons a white Shikigami, a giant snake, which uses its sharp teeth to lift Sukuna into the air. The 2 Shikigami attack together, and the sky suddenly thunders and lightning. Sukuna has an evil smile on his face, as if he is enjoying the thunder and lightning. Didn't I tell you to go around? Fushiguro Megumi was thrown into the air and flew backwards. Fushiguro Megumi tried his best to control his body in the air. He tried to adjust the direction and made a seal in the air to summon the Shikigami. He looked again. Sukuna had caught up with him in the air and kicked Fushiguro Megumi in the stomach. A big hole was knocked out of the residential building opposite. Fortunately, Fushiguro Megumi had previously asked Mr. Ijichi to spread the evacuation distance to about 5 kilometers in advance. So there is no living person where they are fighting now. Sukuna caught up instantly and punched him hard again, but the difference from the previous punch was that this punch hit Fushiguro Megumi's waist accurately and flew out in a weird posture. He hit a factory, but this did not stop Fushiguro Megumi. After breaking 5 pillars in a row, he flew out of the factory. The Shikigami summoned before was not killed by Sukuna, and Fushiguro Megumi was sealed in the air. Only then was he able to breathe a sigh of relief. No matter how good the spell is, it is useless, because Sukuna is far better than Fushiguro Megumi in any aspect, even if Sukuna only has the strength of 3 fingers. Fang Wuxia, who was watching the show on the side, had about a few minutes left before he could go forward and fight with Sukuna. As long as Fushiguro Megumi used that, he would be favored by Sukuna. The Jade Dog and the Great Snake were damaged, and even the new that was just summoned was on the verge of death. In order to prevent the Shikigami from being damaged, he had to temporarily cancel the summons. This is not the common technique that uses spells. I can't understand why you ran away when facing the cursed child. What a waste of talent. Sukuna seemed to be lecturing Fushiguro Megumi. Something in him seemed to be very useful. It should be the 10 shadow spells that appeared later. Sukuna chose Fushiguro Megumi's body. Good, you are finally starting to burn your life, let me see, Fushiguro Megumi. With a sly grin, Sukuna approached Fushiguro Megumi, who was ready to fight. At this time, he was completely interested. Furube, Yura, Yagami. What Fushiguro Megumi said was a kind of word spirit that could revive the dead. Sukuna was probably interested in this and the Makora, but it would require burning a lot of life to do it. Before the spell was finished, Fushiguro Megumi found that Sukuna in front of him had stopped moving and stood still. You really deserve to die, you always show up at the critical moment. Sukuna looked at Feng Wuxia angrily. Fushiguro Megumi had already used what Sukuna liked, so it was time for him to show his strength. Oh, I think I showed up just in time. The main plot is not distorted, and Sukuna will still use Fushiguro Megumi as his body in the future, thus taking over Fushiguro Megumi's body. I don't want to hear your nonsense, I just want to know, what is the strength of your 3 fingers? Feng Wuxia's 3 Magatama Sharingan transformed into the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Although Sukuna in front of him only has 3 fingers, he needs to pay a little attention. It's this pair of eyes again, which gives a sense of oppression every time they appear, especially today is cloudy. The surrounding environment is very dark and depressing, and the Scarlet Sharingan is particularly scarlet and bright under the prominence of the environment. Fushiguro Megumi, please stand further away. I will fight with Sukuna in a while and I won't have time to deal with you. Fushiguro Megumi ran to the side very tactfully. He was covered in wounds and couldn't run far. He just walked to a shade under a tree and leaned against it. Fire style, great fire extinguishment. Convert a large amount of chakra into flames and spit out instantly to form a flame wall, with a very large range. Kabuto Yakushi used the Impure World Reincarnation technique to resurrect Uchiha Madara to use it against the Ninja Alliance. It took nearly 20 members of the Ninja Alliance to barely block the water water array wall, with amazing power. The same flame is more terrifying than the fire dragon in the detention center. Sukuna's only 3 fingers can't resist such a large scale of flames. After the flames disappeared, Sukuna's skin was burnt all over his body. Fortunately, the reversal technique quickly restored his appearance. But Yuji's heart is still empty. Ha ha ha, it's really delightful. I don't know how long it has been since I last enjoyed the thrill of fighting. You were really strong. Even 1,000 years ago, you were the best in the world. Sukuna had a high opinion of Feng Wuxia. 1,000 years ago was the heyday of sorcerers. Angels, Noose and Sukuna were all from the same period. From now on, Sukuna paid attention to the man in red armor in front of him. Those eyes have not yet been used. As far as Sukuna knows, different eyes must have different uses. Just like Gojo Satoru's 6 eyes, he was born with dragonfly induction, 360 degrees without dead angles, born with no lower limit sorcerer, releasing spells almost does not consume mana. I am very curious about what the use of your eyes is. Are they more powerful and wonderful than I imagined? You really want to know, huh? Feng Wuxia's Scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan kept spinning, and her eyes suddenly widened. Then Sukuna found that Feng Wuxia in front of him had miraculously disappeared, and had come to an unknown place. Space technique. No, even the space technique can't do it. Because Sukuna found that he was in 1,000 years ago, his body was intact, and Li Mei squatted respectfully beside him. The eyes of Wan on the 2nd floor were a little crazy. Immerse yourself in the illusion of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Sukuna fell into a short sleep, and the power of 3 fingers was not enough for Sukuna to quickly break through the illusion. So Yuji took control of the body. Am I dying? Taijuba noticed that his heart was empty and his body was covered in blood. I have no reason to save you. Even if it's dangerous, I don't want to see a good person like you die. Although I hesitated, I still acted on emotion. But that's enough, I'm not a hero, but a sorcerer. So I never regretted saving you. Fushiguro Megumi stood opposite Yuji, who had regained control of his body. And Feng Wuxia discovered that the illusion of the Mangekyo Sharingan could effectively suppress Sukuna, even if it was only for a short while, which was enough for Yuji to regain his body. Seeing that Yuji was dying, Fushiguro Megumi opened his heart for the first time and said a lot to Yuji. After all, you are smarter than I thought. Tiger Stick scratched his hair inappropriately, as if to cover up the awkward atmosphere. I think you're right, but I'm not wrong either. Sorry, time is up. From a drop of blood before, to a mouthful of blood now. Blood gushed out from the heart. Ordinary people would die the moment they lost their heart. The fact that Tiger Stick could hold on for so long shows that his physical fitness is very strong. He can survive for a short time even without his heart. You, Kugasaki. There are also Wu Tiao teacher and Feng Wuxia. Oh, they don't have to worry. You need to live longer. After saying the last sentence, Yuji fell to the ground with his whole body weak. Fushiguro Megumi's face was gloomy. It should be the first time he saw his companions die. Just like Principal Yega said, sorcerers are often accompanied by death, and they must have corresponding awareness. This is a basic principle for sorcerers. Fushiguro Megumi's mouth twitched, and raindrops mixed with tears flowed into his mouth. Perhaps this is the taste of pain. Is he really dead? I don't believe it. Fushiguro Wei looked up at Feng Wuxia beside him. Maybe, but who can say for sure? Feng Wuxia left Fushiguro Megumi with a very mysterious smile, because later Sukuna helped Yuji to revive, but the requirement was, when Sukuna said the word, Chikuo, the body must be handed over to Sukuna for 1 minute. Of course, during this minute Sukuna promised not to kill or hurt anyone. But it does not include hurting yourself. This is the only point that Yuji missed. When encountering an enemy, there are only 2 choices, run away or die. I told them not to fight. Taijuba's body lay quietly on the operating table. Ijichi stood in front of Gojo Satoru like a child who had made a mistake. It was intentional. The opponent was a special class, and he was just trying to save 5 strangers whose lives and deaths were unknown and who had no connection with him. It is totally unreasonable to send first-year students. If they were talking about sending Feng Wuxia, that's completely understandable. Itadori was given an indefinite reprieve at Gojo Satoru's strong request. The people above didn't like it, so they took the opportunity to transfer Feng Wuxia away with a mission while Gojo Satoru was away on a business trip. It was just the right time to get rid of Itadori. Even if Itadori didn't die, it was Fushiguro Megumi and Nobara who died. It could also annoy Gojo Satoru, and the people above thought it was a good opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's too troublesome to find the criminal, so why not just kill all the people above? Ijichi was shocked. What Gojo Satoru said was too shocking. It didn't sound like something he would say at all. Fushiguro Megumi and Nobara were sitting on the stone steps, chatting listlessly, with a few words and the content was irrelevant. What's going on? Why are you so gloomy? Ahui. It's like someone has died. Zenin Junshi walked up to Fushiguro Megumi with the cursed tools. They were from the same family, but Gojo Satoru bought Fushiguro Megumi at a high price. Sister Zenin, Fushiguro Megumi said without raising her head. Don't call me by my last name, and what's up with that man in armor? Fushiguro Megumi and Kugasaki Nobara looked at Feng Wuxia who was holding a dogtail grass in his mouth. He looked stupid, but his strength was completely different from his appearance. Maki, Maki. The panda hid behind the stone lion and called out to the Zen temple Maki softly. Don't you know why they are gloomy? Someone really died. A first grader died yesterday. Wooden fish flower. Zenin Maki turned her head stiffly. It was very rude to tell such important news now. It was very rude to ask directly if someone was dead just now. Why didn't you say it earlier? It makes me feel like I have no heart or lungs. Who are they? Kugasaki Nobara pointed at the 3 people making trouble over there. Fushiguro Megumi has been living in the high school, so all the seniors know her. They are the 2nd-year seniors. Why are you so murderous? Sukuna, sitting on a high place, looked down at Yuji Itadori below. Murderous, you killed me. Yuji clenched his fists and wanted to beat Sukuna up. This place looked like hell. It was really hard to imagine that he would go to hell with Sukuna after he died. Of course, I was killed by you. I helped you heal your hand, you ungrateful guy. But you cured it and threw my heart away again. He picked up the goat head on the ground and smashed it hard at Sukuna on the top. After a burst of smoke, Sukuna on the top disappeared. Sukuna, get ready to be beaten. Blocking Sukuna's flying fist, what he cares about now is not this, but why that man appeared here. It stands to reason that outsiders cannot enter. System, you are awesome. I didn't expect that the ability I exchanged for could allow me to enter the body of Tiger Stick, and enter in a physical form. It's like Feng Wuxia himself entering the body of Tiger Stick, and possessing all the power. It was a spectacular sight. The water was red, and the goat heads were piled up to form a huge throne. Feng Wuxia looked at Sukuna's throne and began to judge it. Why are you here? Compared to teasing Tiger Stick, the most important issue at the moment is the sudden appearance of Feng Wuxia. Nothing, I just thought it was interesting, so I came in to take a look, and I happened to see you guys fighting, so I won't disturb you. To be honest, he came in mainly to see Yuji and Sukuna, and had no intention of invading. Don't go. Tiger Stick tried to stop Feng Wuxia, but found that he couldn't catch up with her. The distance between them was getting farther and farther. Stop chasing, you can't catch up. That is teleportation. It looks like a straight line, but in fact it is hundreds of miles away from you. Sukuna spoke for the first time. The troublesome guy finally left. Let's have a good talk next, how about that? Tiger Stick clenched his fists. There was naturally nothing to talk about with the guy who killed him. I don't think so. Sukuna kicked Tiger Stick off and sat on him. This is not the hell you mentioned, but my birthplace. It's my heart, which means you are not dead. As long as you agree to my conditions, I will resurrect you, how about it? The veins on Yuji's face popped up. It's impossible for Sukuna to help him revive for no reason. There must be some unspeakable secret. He laughed at Sukuna and said, after all this time, you still don't want to die. Sukuna's tone changed. The situation has changed. You will see interesting things soon. There are two conditions. First, when I say the words, Kikuo, your body must give itself to me for 1 minute. Second, forget this agreement. Reject Sukuna. From Sukuna's suspicious look, you can tell that he is doing something weird. This incident made Yuji realize that Sukuna is evil by nature, so he would not agree to the request. I refuse. Sukuna sighed, knowing that Yuji would not easily agree to his request. This is a bondage, as long as the rules are set, even I will abide by them. Yuji pretended to agree with Sukuna, and after Sukuna got up, he punched Sukuna in the face. That's it, let's fight, if you agree, I'll be resurrected unconditionally. In the autopsy room, the lights began to flicker due to years of disrepair. Eijichi, am I a bad person? Gojo Satoru was very bored and started chatting with Eijichi. Eijichi nodded. He was not paying attention to it now. The girl in front of him, Nozomi Aiki, attracted his attention. Eijichi is waiting to be slapped. I often give my tasks to students. This is the spur of love. Feng Wuxia was speechless. The tasks you can do are all special tasks. Give them to a group of first and second graders. System, what stage has Tiger Stick reached? Ding, Tiger Stick will be resurrected in 1 minute. It has reached the last step. This way, I can rest assured that my unauthorized entry into Sukuna's living area has not changed the direction of the plot. Wait until Gojo Satoru is sealed, then you can do whatever you want, it won't change the plot. Because Gojo Satoru will definitely fight Sukuna. There is still some time left, so I have to be patient during this time. I'm going to start. Are you sure you want to sit there? Juru Natsuko put on gloves and a mask, holding the scalpel in her hand. At this time, Yuji sat up lazily as if he had just woken up. And he was naked. Why are you naked? Yuji said naked. Alive, alive, alive. Before Eijichi could accept the fact, Gojo Satoru interrupted with a smile. Idichi, you are so noisy. Yujin, welcome back. The two smiled and high-fived. Gojo Satoru sent Ieri Shoko away and asked for the original report to be handed in. Feng Wuxia was still in the autopsy room. The current plot should be that Gojo Satoru let Itadori fake his death. Then during this period of time, he took Itadori Yujin to learn how to control the magic power. I thought everyone had left, but you were still here. Sukuna's mouth appeared, and Yuji slapped it as usual. Now Sukuna can appear in any part of Yuji at will. He appeared on the forehead again. By the way, was that you I just saw? Yuji Itadori was very confused. Feng Wuxia remained silent, which was considered as tacit agreement with the question raised by Yuji Itadori. You were really stupid. He was the one who appeared just now. I'm curious, how did you get into my living domain? He was the first person in 1,000 years to invade the living domain without Sukuna noticing it. If Fangha hadn't fiddled with Sukuna's throne at will, he might not have noticed it. This is all thanks to his lack of magical power, plus the cover of the system. It is difficult for Sukuna to find Fangha casually. Yuji, what are your requirements for his resurrection? Yuji thought about it, because Sukuna's second requirement was to forget Chikuo. So he didn't remember why he was resurrected at all. Sorry, I don't remember. Sukuna showed a strange smile. His plan was successful, foreshadowing the seizure of Fushiguro Megumi later. Fangha also gave Sukuna a mysterious smile in return, which was equivalent to him infiltrating the entire plot. Everything was under his control, but Sukuna was completely unaware. Forget it if you don't remember. Gojo-sensei is looking for you. He's just outside the door. You go with him. Okay, I'll be leaving first. Yuji turned around and waved goodbye to Fangha. Gojo Satoru and Ieri Nozomi were both on the second floor. Do me a favor and just write that Yuji is dead in the report. I want to make him as strong as possible during this time. How can we deprive young people of their youth? Yuji patted Gojo Satoru on the back. Gojo Satoru was thinking about something. Although Fangha was very strong, he had no cursed energy in his body. He was thinking about whether he should train with Yuji. Anyway, Fangha didn't need to attend the exchange meeting. Because if he went, it would be a devastating blow, and it would leave first-year students Fushiguro Megumi and Nobara without any experience. Tiger Head, go and call Fangha over. Although Tiger Head didn't understand, he still did as he was told and went back to the anatomy room to call Fangha over. During this period, you and Yuji have been training together. You have no curse power in your body. I hope you can condense the curse power. Ding, trigger the main task. Gain spell power, points can be plus 100. Current points, 100. Unlimited replication of the system requires a full 1000 points, and at least a main or side quest is required. But it is definitely worth the price, and there are no side effects. The premise is that it requires mana to release, so the system's tasks come just right. The mysterious basement was tailor-made for the two of them by Gojo Satoru, and no one will disturb them. Now you have to learn how to control the power of the spell and the basic knowledge of the spell. Fangha was immediately discouraged. The current situation was like a math class. It was like listening to a foreign book. Gojo Satoru said with a pursed mouth, "Next, please look at the jars next to you." The green and orange jars were placed on the table. The green tube fell down, and the orange jar was twisted. The first one is the use of cursed power, and the second one is the use of spells. I see, I don't understand. Not to mention Yuji, even Fangha didn't understand it, even though he had practiced the spell battle more than a dozen times. When it came to the lecture, he didn't understand a word. Oh, I get it. That means we have to learn a super powerful technique next. Gojo Satoru interrupted Yuji Itadori, because techniques are innate and rarely learned. Therefore, Yuji Itadori and Fangha cannot learn it. Itadori is just temporarily unusable, and soon Sukuna's technique will be engraved in your body. This is the foreshadowing left by the one-eyed cat in the first season. Gojo Satoru said secretly in his heart. Chapter 11. The power of spells comes from negative emotions. Come to think of it, it seems that every time Fushiguro uses his cursed power, he gets angry. So Gojo Satoru's goal is to prevent Yuji from consuming too much cursed power when he is emotional, and to control it. Fangha now only needs to learn how to control the cursed power. There are many ways to train, and I've picked a very hard method for you. Tiger Tsubasa swallowed his saliva, wondering what the hard method that Gojo-sensei was talking about was. Of course, it's watching movies. Gojo Satoru took out all kinds of movies from Sakura Country, including romances, horrors, and thrillers. He handed a brown stuffed bear to Yuji, who seemed to be sleeping soundly. Don't underestimate him. As long as your magic power fluctuates, he will wake up and beat you up. Taijube looked at the stuffed bear in his hand in disbelief. As for you, you just need to learn how to condense the magic power. Because cursed power is generated by negative emotions. Gojo Satoru took out a lot of extreme TV series and movies and brought Fangha to another room. To avoid disturbing the other party, the basement room has good sound insulation. You can't even sense the other party's presence at all. Teacher Gojo, I have a question. He stopped and looked at Yuji in surprise. It was rare for him to ask him a question. Mr. Yuji, please speak. Just now you said, the spellcaster's spell is basically innate, and it is linked to the subsequent strength. I want to know, is Feng Wuxia's flame and other skills innate? Gojo Satoru touched his chin. He himself was not very clear about Feng Wuxia's situation. It is true that the spell is innate, but there are also sorcerers who grow up later. Just like Gojo Satoru, he was just an ordinary special grade before he met Fushiguro Shire. After his death, he realized the reversal sorcerer and became the only one in the world. So in the case of Feng Wuxia, it is possible that the spell or skill was learned later. I see, said Yuji, not quite understanding. I have an important meeting, so I won't disturb your practice. I'll be back in a bit. Gojo Satoru waved goodbye to the two of them. Ding, trigger the side quest. Gojo Satoru vs. Leaky Pot. Successfully completed points plus 100. According to the plot, when Gojo Satoru is fighting vigorously, he will come back and take Yuji Itadori to watch the battle together. Practice well. Then he walked out of the basement. System, I am a reincarnated body. Does possessing cursed power mean I have infinite magical power? Ding, that's the theory. The body of the impure world reincarnation has inexhaustible energy. As expected, as long as you master the power of the curse and accumulate enough points later, you can directly purchase the copying ability that you like. Any spell can be copied. When the time comes, Feng Wuxia will also say, I am the only one in the world. There is still some time before the meeting with the principal. Do you want to go somewhere else? Aikichi said while driving. Gojo Satoru didn't mind. It's nice to arrive early once in a while. No, come earlier. Stop the car. Gojo Satoru looked out the window, and his 6 eyes sensed the breath of the clepsydra, even though it was still some distance away. Gojo Satoru stood alone on the empty road, with no one around him, and even a few street lights. It's time to come out. Gojo Satoru's face turned cold. Seeing that he was discovered, Leaky Pot didn't hide anymore and jumped into the air. Who are you? A big hole sank into the place where Gojo Satoru was standing. Luckily he reacted in time. Loco did not answer Gojo Satoru's question. The purpose of his coming this time was to challenge Gojo Satoru. A huge pistol appeared on the wall. It opened its mouth and spewed out a huge flame. Everything was scorched wherever the flames went, and the fire lasted for about 10 seconds. Loco smiled fortunately and said, that's all. Say it again, who is just like this? The Wushashion beside Gojo Satoru blocked the flames. When the flames disappeared, Gojo Satoru walked out intact without any damage on his body. Luhu pinched his ears unconvinced, and looked at Luhu's actions, feeling very confused. As a cursed spirit, he can actually communicate with normal people. Plus this cursed power, is it an unregistered special grade? Special grade is very special, that's why it's called special grade, but the leak pot actually came to my door with such bravado. Stupid human, did I hurt your face? Gojo Satoru clenched his palms and said, no, it just makes me feel good. 5 fire bugs flew towards Gojo Satoru, and he blocked the flying fire bugs with one hand. I've fallen into a trap. Luhu showed a strange smile. The fire bug uses sound as a medium to produce explosions. Gojo Satoru moved to another place in an instant, and at the same time did not forget to tease Luhu. It's amazing, a double attack of fire and sound. The insects and fire like a leaky pot are not worth mentioning in Gojo Satoru's eyes. It's not over yet. The flaming palm hit Gojo Satoru's body, and his whole body was on fire. To outsiders, it was indeed on fire, but it only hit infinity. The area within a radius of several hundred meters was destroyed by the leaking pot. Is that all you can do? In actual combat, I discovered that his strength was just the result of the weak looking up to him. It turns out that today's human beings are fake and their lives are not real at all. Let me teach them what true death is. The clepsydra put away the flame, posed in a handsome pose and turned back. This scene seems to have happened once before. Ahem. The dust in front of him was so thick that Gojo Satoru fanned the air. After a long time, the dust gradually disappeared. Leaky Pot looked back in disbelief, and Gojo Satoru explained, to put it simply, I didn't hit it. How is it possible? This attack is nothing compared to the previous one. Lu Hu was shocked. Besides, he had already seen Gojo Satoru on fire. How could he not have hit him? What you hit is only the infinity between you and me. Gojo Satoru used his fingers to force a distance, although he was very small. Let me tell you, stretch out your hand. Without waiting for the leak pot to react, Gojo Satoru moved his palm closer to the leak pot. Seeing that there was no murderous aura on Gojo Satoru, he thought that it would be better to learn more. It would not be a bad thing anyway. The moment he was about to touch Gojo Satoru's palm, it seemed as if something was blocking him, preventing him from moving forward half a step. I can't touch it, it's blocked in midair. Lu Hu looked at Gojo Satoru in surprise. The scene in front of him was beyond his cognition. It can't be said that it was blocked, but the closer it got to me, the slower it went. I don't mind shaking hands with you. Lu Hu knew he was being teased, and shouted angrily, "You kid, I refuse. Don't be shy, I'm embarrassed. By the way, infinity is everywhere. The spell just turns infinity into reality," Gojo Satoru said and kicked the clepsydra away. Before the clepsydra could react. Warlock reversal a small red ball condensed on Gojo Satoru's fingertips, spinning at an unstoppable speed. The air around him seemed to be compressed. The air continued to surround Gojo Satoru, blowing Lavu so hard that he couldn't stand up. Spell reversal. Gojo's common attack method. A new spell is created by infusing the positive energy generated by the reversal spell into the unlimited spell. The huge shock wave damaged a large area of wasteland, and Lavu flew backwards and disappeared. Rokugan sensed that Lavu was not dead, but was running away at an extremely fast speed. It was obvious that he didn't want to face a monster like Gojo Satoru again. Don't run away, I haven't had enough fun yet. Gojo Satoru caught up with the fleeing Lehu and rubbed his face on the ground until sparks appeared on his face. Lehu tried to resist, but Gojo Satoru didn't give him any chance and threw him directly onto the water. Oh, just in time. Seeing that the time is right, it would be a good idea to bring Yuji over to watch the battle, so that he can see how a sorcerer fights. The clepsydra was lying on the water. The previous attack was so powerful that he didn't react for a while. The waves on the water surface turned into drops of rain and fell on his face. After a long time, he found that Gojo Satoru was gone. Feng Wuxia, Yorin, the next step is extracurricular teaching. I will teach you the highest realm of the sorcerer, the expansion of the domain. Gojo Satoru held Feng Wuxia in his left hand and Yuji Itadori in his right hand. Because he felt that the appearance of the impure world Madara was too scary, as long as Feng Wuxia did not use his power, his appearance would remain the same as before the time travel. There would be no impact. This also caused the leak pot in front of him to not recognize who he was, and thought he was just bringing two burdens. What happened to those two little devils? Did you bring a shield? Until now, Lu Hu still doesn't understand the situation. Gojo Satoru only wants to beat them to visit the highest realm of sorcerers. Shield? No. They are just here to watch, don't worry, just let them go. Because you are weak. The leaking pot was furious when he heard this. The water surface immediately boiled, and the flames above it rose more than 10 feet. Tiger Stick saw this scene and stepped back in fear. Feng Wuxia was excited, and this time the flames were more powerful than last time. Stop looking down on others, you fool. Look, I'm going to devour your smug face too. Tiger Stick looked at Lu Hu in shock. Is this guy weak? In the eyes of Feng Wuxia, who was standing next to him, Lu Hu was a top-level character. Except for a few people, it couldn't beat them, but it just hit the ceiling. Tell me, isn't it infuriating? First it was Gojo Satoru, and then it was Sukuna. I, Lu Hu, am just arrogant. I don't even look down on anything that's not the ceiling. Don't be afraid, don't leave my side. Gojo Satoru stroked Yuji's head, and his sense of security was instantly boosted. What about me? Feng Wuxia pointed at herself. You are already a special grade sorcerer, why do you need my protection? Please, my young heart needs protection too, who would refuse a pat on the head from Gojo-sensei? You are so good, you still have time to chat there. Lu Hu said angrily. If it was the original plot, Gojo Satoru would not say too much nonsense. But now there are two special level sorcerers present, and there is no fear of not being able to protect Yuji. So the atmosphere is very subtle, and even forget that Luhu is still here, and start chatting. Field expansion. The coffin is covered in the iron wall mountain. The shadow enveloped the three people on the water, as if they were dragged into another space. The ground collapsed, and Itadori could not stand for a while, but fortunately Feng Wuxia behind him supported Itadori. The mountains collapsed and the ground cracked, and magma erupted on the ground. Now the three people were like inside a volcano. The temperature was very high, and it was impossible to tell whether it was real or fake. The domain was expanded, and the use of mantras gave the surrounding construction a natural domain of the technique. It consumes a lot of mantras, but there are also many advantages. The first is the ability improvement brought by the environment, just like the buffs stacked in the game. Before Gojo Satoru finished speaking, a huge rock stabbed over, but was stopped by Gojo Satoru with one arm. Feng Wuxia behind him kicked off the spikes on the ground. If an ordinary person was pulled into the domain, he would be burned to ashes in an instant. Itadori Yuji was under the protection of Gojo Satoru. Feng Wuxia was not afraid of the temperature of the flame at all. So the expansion of the domain of the leak pot was useless. Although Gojo Satoru had many doubts in his heart, why could he stand in the domain without protection? The most effective way to fight against a field is to also launch a field attack. The more powerful domain will cancel out the effect of the other domain. Gojo Satoru slowly pulled down his blindfold. A pair of pale blue eyes that were infinitely close to the sky appeared. Field expansion. Infinite space. The gesture of infinite space is also very simple, with the ring finger and little finger bent, the middle finger placed on the index finger, and the thumb erected. The field appears externally as a huge black sphere. The interior appears as endless white light and nothingness for a moment, and then the entire space turns pitch black. Behind the attacked, an extremely huge eye similar to a black hole will appear. Except for Gojo Satoru himself, everyone else in the field is suspended in the air. Only direct physical contact with Gojo Satoru himself can avoid being affected by infinite space. Infinite space is inside without a lower limit, and perception and communication will be enforced for the act of living. It is a mental shock that is manifested as unlimited information forced into the brain. It can put the opponent in a state of information never stops pouring in. It makes them feel that they can see everything, but can't do anything, and can only wait for death slowly. In the field, nothing can be seen, nothing can be felt. In other words, everything can be seen and heard. All information is gathered in an instant. No matter how important or not, no matter what it is directly forced into the brain. Countless chaotic information is immediately received wherever the eyes can see. The soul and mind will be instantly shocked by the amount of information received. The body will stand still because of the brain overload. Therefore, the attacked in the field cannot move and can't do anything. Obviously, they already know everything, and they are obviously given everything, but they can't do anything and can only die slowly. Gojo Satoru mercilessly pulled off the head of the leaky pot. The head of the leaky pot kept rolling on the ground until Gojo Satoru stepped on it and it stopped. Tell me, who sent you here? Wan Suo and Yu stood on the cliff and watched all this quietly. Do you want to save him? Nozomi stood up. He couldn't be seen by the people in the academy, especially Gojo Satoru below. Otherwise, the subsequent plan would probably collapse. If you want to go, go ahead. I don't know if your relationship is worth saving. I can't show up. After saying this, he disappeared over the cliff. I don't think you are being ordered around by someone. What good will you get from killing me? Gojo Satoru's feet kept torturing the leaky pot on the ground. I won't tell you, you little fool. Luhu is still stubborn, even though his face is crushed. Suddenly, a huge tree trunk appeared, blocking Gojo Satoru and Luhu, and flowers grew all around. Gojo Satoru and Yuji were immersed in the spell, and Feng Wuxia was no exception. Shanshan sensed it and slapped herself on the face, quickly waking up. It's bad, this is a curse. Yuji Itadori was hung up by a thick vine, and the whole person appeared in the sky in an instant. Hanami found the right opportunity to rescue Leaky Pot. Do you think I don't exist? Or is it that my presence is too low? Feng Wuxia stood in front of the two of them, his scarlet eyes began to move, and the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan appeared. It's this pattern again. Leaky Pot stared at Feng Wuxia's eyes. As one of the 4 great natural disasters, he had seen all kinds of eyes. Even if he hadn't seen them, he had heard of them. But the eyes in front of him seemed to have suddenly appeared in the world without the slightest trace. Wyu quickly alerted, while Yuji Itadori was in the sky and Gojo Satoru couldn't get away. Now is the best time to rescue Leaky Pot. Oh, the ants actually tried to resist. Or the strength I showed a few days ago. Isn't that enough to scare you? The Mangekyo Sharingan spun rapidly, and as its power increased, Susanoo turned into a giant half-body skeleton. The second form can wrap up most of the caster's body, further improving the defense. It can resist most damage, but the attack method is relatively simple. It is a form that is good at self-protection but not enough for attack. I think the second form is enough to deal with you. The two looked at the large skeleton rising in front of them. The body was more complete than the last time. He's serious. Leave me alone, Hanamiya. Run. In fact, in memory, Wyu and Luhu had a very good relationship. After Wyu died, Luhu was sad for a long time. Cursed spirits can also have true love. Tiger Stick tied in the sky, thinking of Gojo Satoru on the ground, said, "Teacher, don't worry about me, go chase them." When Gojo Satoru was about to turn back, Tiger Stick started to yell again. "I was wrong just now, help me. Although the spikes on the ground can't kill Tiger Stick, it will hurt. Cut off the spikes on the ground, and find that Feng Wuxia in the distance has stopped Wyu and Luhu." The huge blue skeleton punched the ground, and the imperfect Susanoo. After all, there are some flaws. It's like most of the second form's body, the movement is very slow, and there is no weapon in the hand. It looks very stunned. "Please, Hanamiya, you are no match for him." Looking at Hanamiya, it seems that he doesn't know how terrible Susanoo is and wants to touch it. "Very good, I admire your courage, but that's all. Crazy, too crazy. If you didn't say it, I would have thought that Uchiha Madara was really fighting in the curse." On the cliff, Nozomi did not leave, but looked at the people below. "Looks like he's already caught up with Yuta Okatsu. But the target is not you after all, Gojo Satoru is our biggest obstacle." Nozomi left without looking back. It was exactly what Feng Wuxia meant. The strength he showed now was about the level of Otsutsuki. There were still would release, Susanoo's third form, and the complete Susanoo that he hadn't shown. Nozomi regretted it. Wyu grabbed Leaky Pot's head tightly, not realizing that he had been surrounded. "You can't get away, Wyu, they are all perverts." Luhu persuaded Wyu kindly, not wanting him to lose his life here. Obviously, his mentality had collapsed. Originally, Feng Wuxia had given them a hard time. Now there was the strongest sorcerer in modern times, and it was almost impossible for him to escape. Ding! Trigger the side quest. Battle with Hanami. The host only needs to leave enough psychological trauma on Wyu. Even if the task is completed. Mission completion points plus 100. Current points, 200. System, don't you say this mission is good. It won't disrupt the main storyline, just show a little bit of strength, it will leave enough psychological trauma on Wyu. Wyu stuck his hand into the soil underneath. The grass and trees around him all withered. This is Wyu's special technique. He can attack the enemy through tree roots, use curse seeds to absorb the enemy's curse power, use tree roots to attack, and convert the vitality of plants into curse power through life absorption. However, Wyu also has his own weaknesses. The branches growing from his eyes are one of his weaknesses. Once these branches are attacked, his abilities will be restricted, making him more vulnerable. This weakness requires him to be extra careful in battle so as not to be exploited by the enemy. Very good, show me your real skills. Curse Seed. Shoots a curse seed that feeds on curse power at the enemy. The more the enemy uses curse power to defend, the stronger the curse seed will be. The correct way to deal with it is to remove the curse power defense and simply use the body to withstand the attack. Once hit, the curse seed will absorb the host's curse power and grow. The more the host uses curses, the deeper the roots will be. It can be said that after being hit by this move, the ability to move is basically lost. It is a very tricky move. That's a good move, but you miscalculated. Your spell is for sorcerers, but I don't have the power. Regret, hate it. Feng Wuxia blocked Wyu's curse with one hand and crushed it mercilessly. Obviously Hua Yu didn't expect it, and thought Feng Wuxia was bound by the curse. During this time, Leakage Pot was not idle either, and quickly used the curse power to condense the body. Fortunately, Hua Yu delayed Feng Wuxia for a while, and her body recovered. I can't even break through the defense. Now I can vaguely realize that the blue skeleton in front of me is not so easy to deal with. Unlike Wuxia, they can't break Susanoo's defense at all. Hey, don't let him kill you, Gojo Satoru said. Now Gojo Satoru was really scared. Feng Wuxia got excited and accidentally killed Luhu and Hua Yu. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Hua Yu couldn't help but take a few steps back in fear when facing Feng Wuxia. Don't be afraid, I think I have good control and I can't take your life. Nana, are you talking like a human being? Luhu was furious. He hadn't used the fire that Feng Wuxia had used in the store last time. If he used the fire, Hua Yu would definitely be defeated. And such a terrifying fire, even if Luhu was determined, he would not be sure to take it. Field expansion. Eat the Sea of Light. Consume a huge amount of mana to build a natural domain around the area. In the domain, the magician will be improved by the environmental factors. And the magic performed in the domain has an absolute hit effect. In the original work, Hua Yu was going to expand the domain, but Gojo Satoru appeared later. The domain was interrupted. Feng Wuxia was interested now. Hua Yu's domain expansion is much stronger than the leak pot. Because Hua Yu can continuously draw energy from the ground. I don't know what method you used, but in my field, as a person without cursed power, I am invincible in the domain, Hua Yu said confidently. Feng Wuxia grinned. What Hua Yu said was indeed true. He had no cursed power. But he had infinite chakra, an immortal body, and Susanoo. It was not a problem for him to resist the domain. If you think so, I can't say anything. In my opinion, you are just a slightly larger ant. Hua Yu thought Feng Wuxia was just talking nonsense before dying. So he kept silent and did not respond to Feng Wuxia. It seemed the same to Luhu. Only a domain can fight against a domain. Of course, outsiders can break the domain. Otherwise, it is a dead end. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Feng Wuxia laughed crazily. I forgive you, humble cursed spirits. Forgive. Hua Yu didn't understand what the man in front of him was doing. But the opportunity was rare, and now was the best chance to kill Feng Wuxia. If he missed the opportunity, Gojo Satoru would have no chance to break the domain. He needed to clear all obstacles. Do not misunderstand. I mean, forgive me for not seeing the real power. Don't you think you are pathetic? Feng Wuxia's mouth was full of output, constantly mocking Hua Yu and Luhu. Just a bunch of frogs in a well, okay. Today I will show you the real power. Susanoo complete form. Susanoo. Complete form. Susanoo is in the form of a cloak, and its chakra is fixed into the form of a high-nosed tengu in samurai armor. With a swing of the sword, it can destroy several kilometers of land and break through mountains in an instant. The power can rival that of the tailed beasts, which means destruction. Those who can use Susanoo complete form include Otsutsuki Hagoromo, Indra, Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Sasuke, and Kakashi, who temporarily got Obito's eyes. What the hell is this? Hua Yu stood in the field, helplessly looking at the man in armor in the sky. The scene before her eyes will probably never be forgotten in her life. Hua Yu, we were all wrong, and we were completely wrong. The guy in front of me is not a human at all. More like God. Feng Wuxia, with the full form of Susanoo, made Hanami and Luhu in the domain think that he was a god. After all, he just showed it and did not attack the two. So the two were not sure about the lethality and range of the full form of Susanoo. Gojo Satoru stood outside, and the domain that Hanami had just opened was constantly expanding. The entire black sphere was getting bigger and bigger, becoming out of control. The domain actually collapsed from the inside, which is really rare. Gojo Satoru pondered the domain. He had been a sorcerer for more than 10 years, and it was the first time he saw someone without magic power breaking the domain. It was like a paralyzed person lifting a car. It was very difficult to solve. Bang! With a crisp sound, the domain was broken. Seeing that things were not going well, Hanami Yingzhang's breath escaped with the leaking pot. When Gojo Satoru found it, he was still a step too slow. From beginning to end, our protagonist Yuji Itadori was watching the show. Too strong, is this the battle between top sorcerers? Tiger Stick couldn't help but sigh. When the domain was broken, Fangha just released the complete form of Susanoo. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the side quest. Points plus 100, current points, 300. You are not far from the item you want. You can redeem it by completing a few more tasks. Finally you came out. I thought you were going to die in there. Gojo Satoru carefully observed Fangha's expression. It seemed that she was not frightened, but happy. Seeing that Fangha didn't want to say more, Gojo Satoru didn't ask. Maybe it was his own unique technique. Why hasn't Mr. Gojo come yet? Aikichi was sweating all over, sitting on the tatami and staring at Principal Yemo. What about me? Do you want me to attend the exchange meeting? Gojo Satoru looked at Fangha. To be honest, he didn't want Fangha to go. But later, considering that Yuji Itadori had to go back to school, someone had to protect him. He was temporarily caught in a dilemma. How about this? You enter the exchange meeting as a referee. The most important thing is, don't interfere with the exchange meeting. Of course, this is assuming that Yuji's life is not in danger. After much persuasion, he finally let me attend the exchange meeting. According to the system's nature, the next task is another side quest, and I must be present. It will be more conducive to completing the task. Otherwise, I will sit in the monitoring room and wait for him to arrive. Gojo Satoru has solved it. Okay, I'll do as you say. Oh, I found it on the road, I don't need to give it to you. He took out the money bag he had extorted from Nozomi. Gojo Satoru was about to refuse, but he found that the money bag looked more and more familiar, so he snatched the money bag from Fangha's hand. Where did you pick it up? Gojo Satoru looked anxious, but also excited, because he couldn't keep anything about his best friend. The bag of money that appeared made his eyes light up, and he wanted to buy it. How much is it? Just name your price. Don't pay, I told you I found it, I'm giving it to you for free. Fangha threw it into Gojo Satoru's hands without a care. But Gojo Satoru treated it as a treasure, holding it tightly in his hands and refusing to let go. It's getting late, time to go back to the Jujutsu High School. By the way, before Yuji returned to school, you still have to continue your training. Yuji Itadori's face fell when he heard this. Let's not talk about how well he had mastered the cursed power. He almost vomited just from watching movies. He watched more than a dozen movies a day. Who in the family understood? There was a subordinate who forced Itadori to watch TV, and he watched all kinds of movies in turn. Can you see it? This is the remnant of cursed power. Yuji stood beside Nanami. Just now, a curse incident occurred in the cinema. 3 high school students died strangely in the cinema. Their deaths were extremely tragic. The scene was blocked in many ways. People can only enter but not leave. With the privileges brought by the technical high school, Nanami and Yuji were able to enter the scene at the first time. A green cursed spirit was lying on a chair at the back of the cinema. Nanami stopped Yuji and said, I'll take care of it, you go deal with the other one. The other one. Yuji hadn't noticed it yet. He turned around and found that a white cursed spirit was hiding in the corner, watching their every move. At first glance, the cursed spirit had a big mouth and was full of sharp teeth. It looked extremely weird. If you can't beat me, call me. Yuji said a little discouraged. Don't look down on me. It's not that I look down on you. I am the adult and you are the child. It is my duty to protect you. If it were Gojo Satoru, he would just fly around with Yuji. Today I will take you to touch this, tomorrow I will take you to touch that. Just because you have experienced a few life and death moments doesn't mean you are an adult. The hair on your pillow has increased, and your favorite bread has disappeared from the convenience store. Only when small despairs accumulate can you be considered a real adult. Jingting fist. Tiger Stick punched through the cursed spirit's body. Just when he was about to help it get rid of its body, Nanami stopped Tiger Stick. Turji-san, look at this. The phone pulled up other photos, and it turned out that he was wearing a watch. After a closer look, the 2 cursed spirits on the ground were also wearing watches. This meant that these 3 were turned into cursed spirits by humans. The one that Nanami and Yuji had been fighting was a human. Back in the monitoring room, they found that a student ran out of the cinema on the day of the incident. It can be seen that he looked very nervous, as if he had done something wrong. Yoshino Junpei, a high school student that Yuji met a few days ago. At first, Yuji was unwilling to believe it, but after various accusations and proofs. At present, Yoshino Junpei is the most suspicious. For this reason, the counselor Aikichi gave a detailed plan. Capture a level 4 fly head from the wild. When we get to a place where there is no one, let him go. First, if he is an ordinary person who cannot see the curse, you only need to rescue him immediately. Second, if he can see the curse but is powerless to fight it, you still have to save him. But you need to ask about the situation on the day of the crime. Third, if he uses magic to kill the fly head, arrest him immediately. It doesn't matter if you catch the wrong person, just apologize and explain clearly. Yidiji pushed his glasses. If you want to come out quickly. Although they are transformed cursed spirits, they were all human beings in their previous lives. It is still a bit uncomfortable to kill so many. Great, I thought it was Gojo Satoru who came. Although it will be very troublesome if he comes. If the person who comes is too weak, the experiment cannot be done. At the bottom of the dark well, Genrin slowly walked out and looked at Nanami with a smile on his face. Obviously, he regarded Nanami as an important experimental material. Nanami twisted her neck and said, I don't like to work overtime, let's make it quick and decisive. Genrin seems frivolous on the surface, but he hides a dirty curse power inside. From the moment the two fought, Nanami found that Genrin was very strong. He was not comparable to the cats and dogs on the street. Nanami chopped off Genrin's palm with a knife. I clearly blocked it with my magical power. The real person said nonchalantly, and then his arm recovered. Let me ask you a question, which came first, the soul or the body? To put it another way, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Here comes the most classic question. Later, Nosoko also asked the real person this question. The answer he got was, the soul is the body, otherwise how to explain that the dead Geto Suguru strangled Nosoko's neck? You are quite skilled. Nana remained calm in the face of the real person's attack. She dodged all kinds of attacks swiftly. Feng Wuxia, who was currently studying in a technical college, was lying on the bed, bored, and started reading the comics of Sakura Country. I am bored. Now he has no electronic products, is tired of fighting, and is completely unadapted to his current life. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door of Feng Wuxia's room. Please come in. Fushiguro Wei looked at Feng Wuxia lying on the bed and wanted to ask him a few questions. I heard you were going to attend the exchange meeting. Feng Wuxia nodded. You are half right, I am participating as a referee. Fushiguro Megumi scratched his head and said, I knew it. I thought those old guys were out of their minds. Let a special grade sorcerer attend the exchange meeting. He was right. Since Feng Wuxia was listed as a key surveillance target, due to his strong strength, the higher-ups would basically not refuse Feng Wuxia's requests, unless the request was too excessive. Even the fact that he was listed as a key surveillance target was only discussed with Gojo Satoru. You're not looking for me just for this, right? Looking at Fushiguro Megumi's evasiveness, I know it's not that simple. I hope you can train me. I have looked for Gojo-sensei during this period, but he seems to be busy. Feng Wuxia frowned. It was not that he was busy, but that he was giving special treatment to Yuji. After thinking about it, it seemed that special training for Fushiguro Megumi would not be good for him, and it would be troublesome. So he planned to refuse Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi seemed to know that Feng Wuxia would refuse this job. As long as he agreed to special training, Fushiguro Megumi was willing to give anything. I have two requirements for special training. First, my special training will not care about your life or death, but it is definitely effective. Second, go steal an eye patch of Gojo Satoru and give it to me. Fushiguro Megumi asked in confusion, why do you want Gojo's eye patch? Feng Wuxia didn't say much, but smiled faintly, leaving Fushiguro Megumi with a confused look. Don't worry about it, I'm useful. Okay, I promise you. The first condition is that you must be prepared for the special training. As for the second condition, since he has lived with Gojo Satoru since he was a child, it is not a problem for him to wear an eye patch. Maybe the neurotic Gojo Satoru will think that Fushiguro Megumi has fallen in love with the eye patch. I'll be waiting for you at the entrance of the high school at 8 o'clock tonight. I won't wait for you after the time is up. He wanted to become stronger, and he didn't want to lose his companions again, so he found Fang Wuxia for special training. Deal. After closing the door, Fang Wuxia opened the system. System, is there any event now? Ding, querying for the host. Nanami is detected fighting with Mahito. The task is of the optional type. That is, you can choose a task of your choice. You will get points if you complete it, but you won't lose points if you don't complete it. It all depends on your mood. But Fang Wuxia is very short of points now, so he still accepted the task. Except, Fang Wuxia arrived late and found that the battle had already reached this point. At this time, Yuji Itadori was fighting the real one. Yoshino Junpei was already dead, and he died after becoming a cursed spirit. The real one stretched out 5 sharp thorns from his hand and pierced Itadori's stomach. He held it tightly. Blood flowed from the corner of Itadori's mouth, and his expression was very hideous and in great pain. You can't beat me. Let's exchange quickly. Let Sukuna come out. After saying that, the real person put his hand on Yuji's chest. The actual combat was transformed into Wu-Wei, and he successfully entered Yuji's inner world. Sukuna sat on a high throne, looking at the real person who broke in with contempt. The first time he saw Sukuna's true body, the real person was so scared that he froze in place and dared not move. Sometimes I really admire Yuji, this kid, who can remain calm in the face of Sukuna's soul. How dare you touch my real body? It seems that we all laugh at this kid from the bottom of our hearts. I'll let you go this time. Don't do it again. Show some self-awareness, idiot. The scene changes quickly, and Yuji hugs Shin's head. Shin is still immersed in Sukuna's living realm. No change. Tiger Stick supported his broken body, even though there were several big holes on it. Tiger Stick hit Genrin with his head, and Genrin couldn't dodge in time, and blood came out of his head. Then he kicked Genrin in the face. Looking back, he found that Genrin was no longer in the same place as before. What a pity. Fang Wuxia looked down at Yuji and Genrin. Just now, Fang Wuxia asked the system whether Nanami's death was considered a main quest. The system replied, "Ding, Nanami's death is a side quest." In other words, Fang Wuxia could save Nanami, and Genrin was not in the main quest from beginning to end. Fang Wuxia would deal with Genrin later. System, can you give me a discount or loan? I completed 3 tasks, used up 100 points, and had 200 points left. If you want to buy unlimited copying ability, you have to complete 7 tasks. This is the minimum. If you complete half of it, you may spend it if you like any ability. So it is quite difficult to accumulate unlimited copying ability. Ding, host, don't think about getting it for free. The price given by this system is already very fair. Besides, you are a reincarnated body. I'm not adding any price, it's good enough, wait for you to redeem the unlimited copy ability. Not to mention 10, even if you put 1,000 or 10,000 infinite spaces, it won't consume the mana bar. You are wrong. I won by luck. Do not listen. Ding, this system has automatically blocked certain words. Good fellow, you can't say this. You are a system that plays tricks on the host. Nanami cut off the real person's arm with a knife and blocked the real person's attack. When Yuji Itadori reacted, the real person had already retreated a long way. Ding, releasing the task. Please help Nanami defeat the real one. Plus 50 points for completing the task. Host's current points, 300 points. As expected, it is a task that can be accepted at will. Fang Wuxia can do it alone to defeat the real person. It's just that the points given are a little less. Just play with them. I'm bored after reading comics all day. Real person, just a dog of the noose. In the later period, he was still devoured by the noose and became a stray dog. Fang Wuxia stretched, took out the happy water, and sat on the rooftop to watch the battle. The system only said that it would assist, but did not say when to assist. So he planned to assist at the most interesting time. That is, when the real person was on the verge of death and comprehended the domain. Noticing that the real person was bleeding from his nose, he said in surprise. What's with his nosebleed? I called, Itadori said. Nanami didn't doubt that it was Itadori who beat him, but at this moment, Itadori and he were the only ones present. In other words, he has a reason for not being able to kill Itadori. The real one's palm turned into a sharp knife and slashed at the two of them at a rapid speed. Itadori and Nanami cooperated with each other, looking for the right opportunity to kill the real one with one blow. A modified human was spit out from his mouth, and Nanami cursed in his heart, "Sure enough, the sorcerer is shit." Itadori on the side couldn't bring himself to kill the modified human, so the real one's plan succeeded. "Please kill me." The cursed spirit regained consciousness for a short time. Yuji couldn't bear it, and finally chose to end their lives. "Give up, Yuji is useless." The real one grabbed Nanami's neck with his hands. "You are wrong, he has a good talent, he is just adapting to the gap." The next moment, Yuji jumped out from the second floor, and Genrin also escaped from Genrin's palm. Yuji hit his abdomen, Nanami hit his head, Genrin had no chance to create a substitute. In other words, he was beaten, and he was beaten. Can't create a substitute. The real person felt the threat of death for the first time. At the same time, Feng Wuxia. It seems that the situation is almost done. It will be the real person's turn to awaken the domain soon. Now I can do it. Field expansion. Quote, quote, a large amount of mana is consumed to build a natural domain around the sorcerer. In the domain, the sorcerer's own status will be improved under the environmental factors. The sorcerer himself has an absolute hit effect when casting spells in the domain. With the characteristic of being sure to hit in the domain, the real person can cast inaction transformation on others without touching them. No matter what kind of damage the body suffers, as long as the soul is fine. The body can be restored to its original state, so it is almost immune to most of the sorcerer's attacks in the play. It can be said that as long as the real person brings the opponent into the domain, he has almost won. Here they come. Feng Wuxia dodged and jumped down from the roof. The real person awakened the domain, and then assisted Chihai to repel the real person. The system's task was completed. Countless hands stretched out, as if to swallow people. Chihai was pulled into the dark domain, frowning, this was a domain he could not reach. Nanami, Mr. Nanami. Yuji knocked outside the domain, trying to break it. Feng Wuxia grabbed Yuji's hand and said, "If you can't break it, leave it to me." But, Yuji seemed a little unwilling. He felt a headache and said Nanami's classic words. "It is the responsibility of adults to protect children." Tiger Stick said nothing more after hearing this. He slowly walked into the vicinity of the domain and found that the domain of the real person was different. It was harder and more powerful than other domains. As expected, this is a realm that was realized at the critical moment of life and death. It is indeed powerful. I just don't know how fragile the external domain is. The real person in the domain was still secretly rejoicing that he had finally comprehended the domain. Now it was Nanami's turn to be in trouble. The sorcerer is a piece of shit. After saying this, Nanami fell into memories. What's going on? The domain was shaking. Genrin found that someone outside the domain was interfering with him, but in the current situation, he would probably be beaten to death if he released the domain. Killing Chihai inside was his only chance. Accept your fate, you can't escape. Nanami remained silent. What Genrin said made sense. It was almost a dead end when he encountered a domain. He didn't have the strength of Gojo Satoru, let alone a domain. He slowly took off his glasses and thought about how he became a sorcerer. Nanami used to think that sorcerers were shit, but after being relieved of the job, he found that the job was also shit. Since it was all shit, why not choose a job that he liked and was more suitable for him? Sure enough, sorcerers are shit. Nanaha had expected this day to come. He knew it from the moment he became a sorcerer. The mission of a sorcerer is linked to life. Recalling his good friend in the technical high school, Kuma. Because the mission assessment level was slightly low, Kuma was defeated and couldn't escape in the end. He died alive. Nanami was sad for a while, and Geto Suguru also wanted to create an ideal world. Defecting from the technical high school. So be it. My life is over. Put away the glasses and wait quietly for death to come. In the original story, the real person enters Sukuna's domain again. Yuji finds the right time, the outside of the domain is very fragile, and shatters the domain with one punch. Rescue Nanami. Nanami is really a good person. Even if the system does not have this task, he will not let Nanami die. In that case, please die here. Real person. Ding, I found out that the host changed the plot of the magic battle. But it does not affect the main plot. Special reminder to the host. Very good, everything is as Feng Wuxia expected. Nanami and Masato are not the key figures in Jujutsu Kaisen, and they don't even appear in many scenes. Akutami Gurgur, you'd better die in your mother's womb. Favorite characters died one after another, but now it's different. Feng Wuxia has come to the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, and history is rewritten by him. Are you sure? Yu Zhong asked Feng Wuxia anxiously. After these days, Yu Zhong has regarded Chi Hai as his second teacher. He is really gentle. Don't worry, who do you think I am? Just stay by the side and watch carefully. I will take care of Nanami. After the death of Sha Yuji, there were only 3 of the original 4 special class players left. Feng Wuxia filled the vacant special class position, so the 4 special class players are still there. It's really filthy, the real one. Looking at the filthy curse power in front of me, it's hard to imagine how evil the real one is. Well, let's start the cleanup from you. Wood escape, fire and silver flowers. Wood escape, fire and silver flowers. Uchiha Madara's moves include wood escape, fire and silver flowers, fire escape, silver flowers, fire escape, dodge, avoidance and other moves. Among them, wood escape is the most important move, which uses the wood dragon technique to forcibly grab the opponent and bind him. Fire and silver flowers are the second important move, which can be forcibly grabbed and bound by the enhancement of Haohuo annihilation. Silver flowers are the third important move, which can easily grab the opponent and cause burns to the opponent through the combination of fire escape and silver flowers. Finally, dodge and avoidance are Uchiha Madara's last moves. Through the skills of avoidance and evasion, you can quickly escape from the opponent's pursuit. Uchiha Madara has a variety of moves, and each move has its own unique advantages and effects. You can choose the appropriate moves to deal with it according to the opponent's state and the situation of the battle. Evil World Madara has Hashirama's cells, so he can use wood release. A huge flame enveloped the domain, and the branches were constantly burning. It looked very strange from the outside. The burning branches did not break, and there was no trace of burning on the surface. Cracks appeared on the domain, and Feng Wuxia increased his strength. The next moment, Genren's domain was shattered. Genren looked at Feng Wuxia next to Yuji in disbelief. Real or fake? My field. Broken. It seems that he has not yet accepted that his domain has been broken. No doubt, your domain is too weak. Even the volcano head is stronger than you. The mocked real person bared his teeth in anger and pounced on Feng Wuxia like a hungry wolf. In that case, please go to hell. At this time, the real person was so angry that he didn't care how strong the person in front of him was. When Feng Wuxia beat Lu Hu and Hua Yu, the real person was not there. And he had never seen Feng Wuxia. Oh, Ants Rebel, it's really interesting. But other than interesting, I can't think of any other words to describe you. Feng Wuxia pinched the real person's head with one hand. With a bang, the real person flew backwards, punching a big hole in the school wall. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, although he was unwilling, he knew that Feng Wuxia was too strong. He was totally incomparable to her. I've never heard of someone like you in the Jujutsu high school. Feng Wuxia replied without caring, how could this rubbish know about the existence of the king? In my eyes, you're just a bigger mouse. More jumping than other mice. You are actually proud of this, and even use it as a capital for arrogance. The real person was speechless. Susanoo skeleton form. I think the first form is enough to deal with you. Because you are really weak. Feng Wuxia's words echoed in Genren's mind. From childhood to adulthood, this was the first time someone said he was weak. This was something he absolutely could not tolerate. That's it, let me see your true ability. Feng Wuxia couldn't suppress his excitement and was fully engaged in the battle. You, don't underestimate me. The palm of Genren's hand turned into a spike. It stabbed Feng Wuxia fiercely. Feng Wuxia pinched Genren's spike with one hand, but it was not enough. He didn't even bother to use the skeleton form of Susanoo. Genren's attack was too childish, without any killing power. At most, he could become a first-level sorcerer, and if he went above that, he would be killed instantly. Later, Yuji and Tudo, the close friends, beat Genren violently. Genren's upper limit was only this high. If he cooperated with a better first-level sorcerer, Genren would not even be able to deal with him. Then I'll just praise you. You are now worse than a stray dog on the roadside. Feng Wuxia was not trying to trick people, she was mocking the real person. The real person's face was twisted together, as if he was going to tear Feng Wuxia apart the next moment. That's it, be a little angrier. Tiger Stick took a few steps back tactfully. Even if the real person was weak, it was in Feng Wuxia's eyes. For Tiger Stick and Nanami, the real person was very strong. You can't even please me, so you'll die here. Opening Susanoo, a huge blue skeleton grabbed the real person's body. The real person tried to resist, but it was useless. It's better to say that now it's a double destruction of the mind and body. Often waiting for death is the most terrifying. Should we save the real person? Nozomi shook his head helplessly. Although the real person could help his plan to some extent, he didn't have the courage to face such a great god. Hanami and Ruku had seen it last time. Susanoo's complete form could explode the domain. And its defense was almost invincible, and it was impossible to break the defense. I wouldn't dare. Did you fight him last time? You know how terrible he is. Let's observe first. The real person must have his own way to save his life. Hua Yu stood beside the rope. When Huo Shantu heard the 3 words Feng Wuxia, he was so scared that he dared not go out. The leaking pot is really timid. Lu Hu, one of the 4 great disasters, turned out to be a coward. Noso mocked Lu Hu without hesitation. Noso tried to win over Lu Hu, Hanami and Genren just to complete his own plan. It would be better to say that it was difficult for Noso to do it alone, so after sealing Gojo Satoru in the later period, he abandoned the people around him one by one. Ding, an intruder is detected in the school. Please prepare for battle. Feng Wuxia was so focused on facing the real person that he didn't notice the noose and Hua Yu. System, the plot seems to have changed. Of course, the real person should have escaped, but was caught by Feng Wuxia. This led to a slight deviation in the subsequent plot. So, the death of the real person won't affect the main plot, right? Ding, the death of the real person will not affect the main storyline, because the seal of Gojo Satoru. This is basically due to Hanami and the leak pot. The real person is just going there for fun. That's good. No one can stop him today. The real person must die here. He wants to let Luo Suo see what he, Feng Wuxia, can do. Well, I won't show the complete Susanoo, so as not to target me. Feng Wuxia grinned and controlled Susanoo to increase its strength. Genren spat out a mouthful of blood. Am I really that weak? For the first time, I felt the huge difference in strength. Maybe, I will really die here today, and there will be no body left. No, I still have a trump card, I still have a chance. The real person has fallen into a state of madness, saliva flowing from the corners of his mouth. He is like a mental patient. Is it broken? It seems that you are not that good either. Only when facing death can a person's true nature be exposed. Specifically, when death comes, a person's true nature is revealed. Are you really not going to save him? He looks like he's going to die. He was still weighing the pros and cons, wondering if saving the real person would help his plan. Wait a minute, someone just said he had a trump card. I will consider it after I use up my trump card. He wanted to judge whether to rescue the real person by the strength of his trump card. If the trump card is very strong, it might help his plan. When the real person fought against Nanami in the sewer, he threw out more than a dozen transformed cursed spirits. If you really think there are only a dozen, you are wrong. In order to build his own army, he stored all the transformed cursed spirits. Just to save his life one day. Come out, my children. It's your turn to protect your father. The children mentioned by the real person are the modified cursed spirits hidden underground. Yuji vomited repeatedly. The cursed spirits looked like humans, and their body parts were misplaced. Nanami also frowned. This was the first time she had seen such a disgusting and bold thing. Nanami thought that there were only a few modified cursed spirits before. Now it seems that the number of modified cursed spirits is enough to form an army. Guard, do you think you can deal with me just by relying on the advantage of numbers? The real person didn't intend to deal with Feng Wuxia. He created so many transformed cursed spirits just to hold him back and create a chance for himself to escape. He had already seen through the real person's intentions. His words just now were just to give him psychological pressure. Give up, I'm not afraid of a mouse. I'm afraid of a group of rats. Feng Wuxi's words were too destructive, and every sentence was mocking the real. It looks like I'm going to fail here today. The real person looked at the second form of Susanoo and began to back out. No way, it can evolve. The first time I saw Susanoo, I felt a strong pressure from the beginning. He took a few steps back and felt a little weak in his legs, but he still held on. He believed that the Cursed Spirit Legion would create enough time for him to escape. He's going to run away, Yuji said anxiously. Nanami blinked and ran to the real person quickly, trying to stop him. At this time, the real person had become smaller and just escaped the capture of Susanoo. I forgot that you had a trick up your sleeve. Feng Wuxia really didn't expect that she had forgotten that the real person could become smaller. As a result, the real person escaped her control, and things became a little difficult to deal with. You can't catch up with me. The real person was still mocking the three people. Nanami, he's going to jump down the well. Hearing Yuji's words, he quickly blocked the well. But the real person lacked a sharp turn. His target was not the well bottom, but the noose and Hanami on the roof. With a long contact, as long as Hanami and noose appeared, the real person could quickly capture their breath. He's running towards us, the immortal reminded Nosuo. Nosuo, who was still in a daze, suddenly jumped up and pulled Yu to run. The immortal did not give the two a chance and shouted. Stop watching the show and save me. You're a traitor to your teammates. Naso complained. He really didn't expect that the real person would call out two people. Yuji and Nanami on the ground looked up at the roof. Naso quickly lay on the ground. He really couldn't be seen by the people in the high school. Especially Nanami. Nanami had a good relationship with Geto Suguru and could recognize him at a glance. You almost got me into trouble. He vowed to kill the real person. His plan almost failed. What about the other person? The real person just called out two people, that's correct. Yuji said. It's a noose. Even for a moment, Feng Wuxia could sense whose breath it was. I see, he didn't dare show up when Nanami was there. Ding, please remember not to affect the main storyline. Side story host is free. It seems that today, the rope will definitely not stay. Yu knows how terrible he is. He will not fight with Feng Wuxia. Now that we are here, what's the point of just watching from above? Feng Wuxia's words were not only addressed to Yu, but also to the lasso lying on top. Yu, kill the real person. Yu was obviously a little hesitant and couldn't make a move. Hurry up, we will all die here if we continue like this. After a struggle, Yu finally made up his mind to attack the real person. They were all companions, and Yu didn't want to make things like this. But there was no other way at the moment, killing the real person was the best choice. As long as the noose was not exposed, the subsequent plan could continue. Yu no longer hesitated and decisively attacked the real person. Are you serious? Genrin dodged Yu's attack. He thought Yu was here to help him. He didn't expect that he wanted to kill him to eliminate future troubles. Feng Wuxia watched Yu and Genrin fighting each other. The more fiercely they fought, the less they would attack, and it would be less likely to expose their strength. Hey, we are in the same group. The real actor reminded Yu. After all, Nozomi is the leader, so Yu had to do as he was told. Sorry, Genrin, in order to achieve our goal, you have to die here. Genrin saw that persuasion was fruitless. There were wolves in front and tigers behind, and he was in a dilemma. He hid everywhere, and the school in front of him was the best hiding place. As long as he entered the school and made full use of the terrain, he would have a chance to escape. A game of cat and mouse. I like it. Feng Wuxia walked into the classroom, followed the breath of the real person, and looked for the real person. What should we do next? Yu said to the rope. The real person ran away, and Yu should have gone in to chase him, but Feng had no time to intervene. He had to give up for the time being. Let's go, we really shouldn't have come to this crappy place. Noso didn't want to stay even a moment longer and just wanted to leave as soon as possible. Feng Wuxia entered the school, so it was impossible for Genrin to come out alive. Hanami and Noso had already gone far away, and now he was alone and helpless. The cursed spirit army that he had just released was also completely destroyed by Nanami and Yuji. In the dark school, Genrin destroyed the entire school's power system and hid quietly in the dark. If it were someone else, Feng Wuxia might not be able to find him. Genrin's cursed power was too filthy and evil, and it could be distinguished at a glance. Hiding in the classroom on the second floor in a panic, Feng Wuxia had already discovered Genrin. Now he is a hunter and Genrin is a hider. I don't know how long it has been since I played this game. Maybe it was 10 years ago, what do you think? Feng Wuxia tried to test Genrin. As long as Genrin's spell power fluctuated a little, he would be discovered. Genrin covered his mouth tightly, his heart pounding. Now Genrin just wanted to survive. For the first time, he had such a strong desire to survive. He kicked open the door of the classroom in front of him, but Genrin was not in it. 1, 2, 3. The doors of the classrooms on the floor where Genrin was located were opened one by Feng Wuxia. Unable to bear the fear, he finally couldn't help but run away under Feng Wuxia's eyes. Even if he didn't run away, Genrin would be caught sooner or later. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Genrin ran and talked. It can be seen that Genrin is really scared this time. Susanoo grabbed Genrin's body. Feng Wuxia was afraid that the second form would destroy the school. His power was restrained. No, no, the real person tried hard to break free, but it was no use. What an interesting expression. After saying that, Susanoo's strength increased. A little blood came out of his mouth. He kept twitching in the air, looking very painful. As long as you use Susanoo to catch him, he will basically not escape. The exception is that he will shrink. Yuji and Nanami rushed to the second floor and found that Feng Wuxia had captured the real person. Feng Wuxia, don't kill him. Tiger Stick shouted. There are many doubts about Hanamiya's appearance and the plan, he said. He needs to bring the real person back to the Jujutsu High School. Before he could react, the real person bit his tongue to commit suicide in advance. The power of Susanoo was too painful. It was totally unbearable for a normal person. Biting tongue to commit suicide, Nanami opened Masato's mouth. His mouth was full of blood and his tongue was broken. There is no way, the person is dead, let's report this to the high school first. Because the death of the real person cannot activate the death and annihilation return, I will arrange for the rope to steal the real person's body and absorb the real person's technique later. Report. In Feng Wuxia's impression, Chihai should not like those old men. Seeing Feng Wuxia's concern, Chihai said, my report refers to telling Gojo Satoru about this matter. Don't even think about it. Nanami carried the body of the real person and turned back to the Jujutsu High School. After completing his mission, Yuji followed Nanami back to the high school. On the way back, Feng Wuxia found that it was already past 8 o'clock. This meant that he had stood up Fushiguro Megumi. Fushiguro Megumi sneezed. It was very cold today. He was freezing to death. Who is thinking about me? Why hasn't Feng Wuxia come yet? He stood at the entrance of the high school for a long time, but Feng Wuxia didn't show up. Nanami, Yuji and Feng Wuxia appeared at the entrance of the high school. Fushiguro Megumi grabbed Feng Wuxia's collar and, your name is Feng Wuxia, right? How dare you stand me up? Feng Wuxia pouted and said, I just found Nanami in danger and went to help her. Nanami and Yuji nodded, and Fushiguro Megumi said that they would not pursue the matter for the time being. The exchange meeting was about to begin. Is there something wrong? Fushiguro Megumi turned around and found Yuji. Wasn't Yuji dead? He died at the prison gate. Only Feng Wuxia, Gojo Satoru, Nanami, Eiichi and Nishiko knew that Yuji had faked his death. Yuji suddenly appeared, and Fushiguro Megumi didn't recognize him for a while. The protagonist is like a passerby, and you really can't recognize him if you don't pay attention. What happened? Fushiguro Megumi grabbed Yuji. He clearly remembered that Yuji died in front of him. But in the current situation, Yuji is not only alive, but also following Nanami. This means that more than one person knows that Yuji faked his death. And it seems that Feng Wuxia also knows. Good fellow, am I the only one who was kept in the dark? Fushiguro Megumi was unable to speak out his pain. It was he who asked Gojo Satoru to protect Yuji, and that's why he got an indefinite reprieve from death. It must be so painful for Yuji to die in front of Fushiguro Megumi. Oh my goodness, it turns out that Megumi Fushiguro is the heroine. Are you so worried about Tiger Stick? Feng Wuxia thought to himself. Speak quickly. If you don't explain it clearly today, you can't leave. Fushiguro Megumi spoke loudly, and the sleepless Gojo Satoru heard it immediately. Wei, what are you doing so late? It's time to go to bed at midnight. Gojo Satoru yawned and said to himself. When Gojo Satoru saw Fushiguro Megumi and Yuji standing together, he felt sick. Gojo Satoru even wanted to continue playing dumb and try to bluff his way through. He said with an innocent look, Yuji-san, it turns out you're not dead. I've been worrying for so long in vain. Fushiguro Megumi looked at Gojo Satoru's silly look and was furious. After all this time you know Yuji is not dead. If you can't lie, don't talk. Gojo Satoru was still grinning, and Fushiguro Megumi's veins bulged, but he could do nothing. He knew he must have his reasons for doing so. Gojo Satoru never does meaningless things. I'll argue with you later. Gojo-sensei, what have you been doing these days? I wanted to find Gojo Satoru for special training, but Gojo Satoru was busy, so I didn't find him. Ah, you're talking about this. Of course, I couldn't tell anyone about the special treatment I gave to Tiger Stick. If I let it slip, today would be over. I'm on a business trip. Gojo Satoru is often on business trips, so this excuse is very practical. There's no way to doubt it. Really, I don't really believe you. Feng Wuxia also saw that Gojo Satoru was really not suitable for lying. His carelessness and funny personality made him what he is now. Let me explain it to you. Feng Wuxia experienced everything from the juvenile detention center to the death of Tiger Stick. Some important information will be hidden, so I will only talk about things that can be told. I didn't tell anything about the volcano head. I see. Fushiguro Megumi seemed to understand but not quite. In other words, Yuji is indeed dead, but Sukuna resurrected him. Gojo-sensei faked Yuji's death to avoid the surveillance of the higher-ups. This makes sense. Fushiguro Megumi is still very angry. He and Gojo Satoru have lived together for more than 10 years. They are not father and son, but better than father and son. There is absolutely nothing to say about their relationship. Gojo Satoru treats Fushiguro Megumi very well. Usually, he gets whatever he wants. Should I tell Nobara? Is it not good that I didn't know about Nobara for the whole first grade? No thanks, Nobara Kugasaki is not suitable for lying. I will let Yuji return to school during the exchange meeting. Gojo Satoru blocked Fushiguro Megumi's mouth with his fingers, signaling him not to tell anyone about what happened today. Let's talk about our business now. Where is the special training you promised me? Special training? What special training? Feng Wuxia grabbed Wuho Satoru and said. Gojo-sensei, do you know what he meant by special training? Gojo Satoru shook his head and said, I don't know. I guess he has paranoia again. Well, let's go. Feng Wuxia dragged Gojo Satoru into the high school. Fushiguro Megumi didn't care so much. Right now, Yuji's return made him not in the mood for special training. Feng Wuxia had already seen this, so it would be more appropriate to hold the special training tomorrow. Let them reminisce about the past. Nanaha also said, pushing up her glasses. She walked in with the two of them. In the room, Nanami briefly reported what happened. Although Gojo Satoru didn't quite understand Hanami's appearance and the plan mentioned by the real person, he knew it must be something complicated. System, is there any problem if I do this? Ding, host, there will be no problem. Even though Gojo Satoru was on guard. It also has no effect. Geto Suguru's face is the best counter to Gojo Satoru. What a miserable life. We were close friends for life, but in the end, we killed each other because of our different standpoints. Feng Wuxia opened them all. His points were only 300 points, far from 1000 points. He opened the character panel and was surprised to find that he could upgrade to the next form. Upgrading the Impure Earth Madara requires 1200 points. Insufficient points at the moment. The next stage is 6 Paths Madara fused with the power of the 10 Tails. Oh my goodness, 6 Paths Madara is here. If he really fuses with 6 Paths Madara, Sukuna is no match for him at all. The 1200 points made him see the reality clearly. It's true that the products produced by the system must be high quality. Aren't you too dark? It's really dark. System, please turn on the light. Ding, please be careful with your words and actions. This system has been. Ignore the system for now. Nanami and Gojo Satoru are still talking. Is it really okay? There will be great risks in resuming the exchange meeting. The news of Sukuna's death has spread throughout the world of sorcery. He was afraid that he would be hunted down if he suddenly brought Yuji to the exchange meeting. Gojo Satoru gave a thumbs up and said, "Don't worry, leave it to me next." Feng Wuxia's face darkened, thinking of that idiotic opening remark. Distributing souvenirs, the singer doesn't have any. It's a headache just thinking about it, and only Gojo Satoru would do this. Turning over the date on the wall, the exchange meeting will be the day after tomorrow, and there is only one day to train Fushiguro Megumi. Gojo Satoru stood up Principal Yega, who happened to be fighting with Kazanto last time. Aijichi stared at him. It was probably Principal Yega who called him away. Yuji and Fushiguro Megumi were thrown to Feng Wuxia. He hasn't mastered the magic power yet, so what he can teach is very limited. Ding, this system feels it is not acceptable, so I will remind you. Madara opened the Samsara Eye before his death, but the host never used it. The host can switch eyes at will, and will not always keep the Samsara Eye. I'll give you a chicken leg. If you hadn't told me, I would have forgotten it. Feng Wuxia really didn't remember that Madara had the Samsara Eye. With the Samsara Eye, the next action would be very convenient. Interchange of positions, space-time movement, Chibaku Tensai, Tensai Tensai and Shinra Tensai, are all abilities of the Samsara Eye. It's done, it's really done. Looking at the entire world of curses, who can resist the power of the Samsara Eye? Chibaku Tensai is like a huge seal, and the nine-tailed beasts have no power to resist. Nanami and Gojo Satoru looked at Feng Wuxia sitting on the sofa and grinning, and said worriedly, "Xiao Qihai, is he okay? Who knows, the sorcerer is really a piece of shit." Qihai still hasn't forgotten to complain. This mission has far exceeded expectations, and the real person needs 2 first-level sorcerers to deal with it. Is it the work of those old guys again? It was originally just an ordinary movie theater incident, but with the appearance of the real 5th, it's hard not to suspect that. Not necessarily. I haven't found any information about this. Feng Wuxia looked at Gojo Satoru. Didn't you say something happened? I thought it was Principal Yi Moth who called Gojo Satoru. I didn't expect that the thing he said was 3 grown men chatting in a room. If there is really a Gojo Satoru like you can even wear a skirt. Is there anything you can't do? It's getting late, let's go back to our rooms and rest. Nana was really tired today. Her nerves were tense, and she fell asleep in an instant. Gojo Satoru and Feng Wuxia walked out of the room, and it was already late. You should also go to bed early. Gojo Satoru waved his hand towards Feng Wuxia. Gojo Satoru, who had been suffering from insomnia, was now feeling sleepy. Seeing that everyone had left, Feng Wuxia also planned to go back to rest, but when he passed by the rockery, he saw an incredible scene. Oh my god, is that true? I saw Fushiguro Megumi sitting next to Yuji. The two of them were huddled together, not sleeping in the middle of the night, secretly being gay. Let's observe first. Fushiguro, this isn't good. Although I haven't seen him for a long time, Fushiguro Megumi looks a little strange. Yuji scratched his head, and Fushiguro Megumi seemed to have fallen asleep on his shoulder. Feng Wuxia, help me. He exhaled. Luckily he fell asleep, and said how could the two of them be gay. He held Fushiguro Megumi's shoulders and worked with Yuji to bring her back to the room. The 3 rooms were next to each other, so it was very convenient. After settling Fushiguro Megumi, the two went back to their rooms to rest. Will Yu Zhang be discovered if he lives here? Feng Wuxia had this thought. Never mind, let's wake up first. The day dawned soon, and Yu Zhang slept in the room for the whole night. There were only a few people living in the whole dormitory, so he would not be discovered by others. Spell Arts High School. Hey, they're here. Zenin Maki reminded Fushiguro Megumi and Kugasaki Nobara. Everyone from Kyoto Jujutsu High School came to the Tokyo campus. Tudo scratched his head and said, Otsutsukoshi is not here. Even if Otsutsuki isn't here, are they looking down on us by letting 2 first years fill in? Aimo Kenji interrupted the conversation between Mekamaru and Tudo. The age of the sorcerer has nothing to do with his strength. Especially Fushiguro-san. He has the blood of the Zenin family, but he is better than the original family. The song girl slowly walked up the stairs, clapping her hands to interrupt the conversation. Seeing that Gojo Satoru had not arrived yet, she said, "So, where is that idiot?" Satoru was late. An idiot is an idiot. No one said that Gojo-sensei is an idiot. Sorry for the wait. Gojo Satoru came over pushing an iron box with some random little paper figures on it. Looks like everyone is here. I just came back from a business trip abroad. Now I will distribute the souvenirs. Gojo Satoru distributes the souvenirs, which are the souvenirs he brought back from a village abroad when he went to visit Yuta Otsutsuki. The singer doesn't have it. I don't want to. And Geji said angrily. Feng Wuxia came to eat. She almost overslept this morning. When she woke up, she found that it was almost 10 o'clock. She rushed to the Jujutsu High School without stopping. Then, everyone at the Jujutsu High School, look here. The iron box in front of Gojo Satoru opened automatically, and Yuji was hiding inside. Hi, Pop. I don't understand what Tiger Stick said. The late Yuji Itadori-san. The atmosphere at this moment seemed a little strange, and Kugasaki Nobara and the others did not show much emotional fluctuation. Hey, Yuji shouted loudly. He wanted to give everyone a surprise, but he didn't know if they were not happy with it or were too shocked to say anything. In any case, he didn't achieve his goal. Students from Kyoto. He is Sukuna's vessel, Yuji Itadori. The nervous Gojo Satoru ignored the others and introduced Yuji. Everyone at Kyoto High School was immersed in the souvenirs. Sukuna's container. Why is it still alive? What on earth is going on? Principal Leian Temple Joshin looked fierce and stared at Gojo Satoru. Great, Principal of Leian Temple. I have been worried about you, afraid that you could not bear it and suddenly died. Feng Wuxia just watched the few people making a fuss. The next exchange meeting was the top priority. Hua Yu might attack Jujutsu High School, even though Feng Wuxia was still there. No matter what, if the toys came, he would play. If the toys did not come, he would be a good referee, just to let the guys in Kyoto see how powerful he is. Okay, he has explained it all, just forgive him. Panda said to Tiger Stick. Tiger Stick half knelt on the ground, holding a portrait frame in his hand and put it on his head. Panda. The panda spoke. Salmon. Yuji didn't understand what Gojuku said, but fortunately Fushiguro Megumi explained it to him. The exchange meeting started soon, and Fushiguro Megumi and others were discussing countermeasures. What would you do, Tiger Stick? Does punching and kicking count? There are many people like this. Fushiguro Megumi stood in the corner, looking at Yuji standing with the panda. Although I don't know what Yuji did during the time he died. If neither side uses cursed power, Yuji will win. Zenin Maki believes that Fushiguro Megumi and Tudo have fought before, so Fushiguro Megumi's words are very credible. It seems that this exchange will be very interesting. I've long been disappointed with you guys who have lost your desire for women. Jia Mao Shanji wanted to stop Dong Tang, but Dong Tang didn't give him any chance. At 11 o'clock, Gao Tianmei will appear as a guest. I will watch both the premiere and the recording. Dong Tang kicked the door open. No one can stop him now. Who is that white-haired man? Is he a distant relative of Gojo-sensei? Panda pointed to Feng Wuxia who was standing beside him. As mentioned before, when the protagonist does not use his power, he looks the same as before. Fushiguro Megumi shook his head and said, he is not a relative of Gojo-sensei. To be more precise, he is the examiner and referee of this exchange meeting. Zenin Maki was puzzled. Usually, the examiners are the two principals of Jujutsu High School. This year, it seems that the rules have suddenly changed. Don't worry, Senior Panda, Senior Dog Roll, Senior Maki. Feng Wuxia is also a freshman. As long as those guys in Kyoto don't go too far, he basically won't make a move. Zenin Maki seriously suspected that Feng Wuxia was specially arranged by Gojo Satoru. He had long anticipated what the consequences would be if Itadori Yujin returned to school. The dead Sukuna container suddenly resurrected, and the group of people above would probably be worried to death. So it was most appropriate to arrange Feng Wuxia as the referee. I don't know what that stupid eyepatch guy is doing, let him be. Feng Wuxia touched Fushiguro Hui's shoulder. He has a use for Gojo Satoru's eye patch. Fushiguro, where is the eye patch I want? Fushiguro Megumi's face was obviously unhappy. You didn't train me specially, why should I give you an eye patch? Don't say that. The exchange meeting is still a while away. Before that, I will teach you a trump card. Trumpet. Fushiguro Megumi got excited when he heard these 3 words. Maybe he could make Gojo Satoru look at him in a new light. The eye patch you wanted. He quickly stuffed Gojo Satoru's eye patch to Feng Wuxia. Wow, so fast. Before Feng Wuxia could react, Gojo Satoru's eye patch had already appeared in his hand. He pulled Feng Wuxia out of the door and gave him what he wanted. Now it was time to teach him his trump card. There is no one here. What exactly is the trump card you are talking about? Use the power of the Samsara Eye to open a wormhole for space travel. On a snowy continent, a first-level peak curse spirit appeared. This is a special training that Feng Wuxia prepared for Fushiguro Megumi. People often stimulate the hidden potential of their bodies when they are closest to death. He wants Fushiguro Megumi to open the field in advance. Only in this way can it be considered his early trump card. As for Moxu Luo, he can't control it. He doesn't have the capital to control the powerful Moxu Luo, and Feng Wuxia will not help him control Moxu Luo. This itself is not suitable for him. Feng Wuxia's best and worst plan is that even if Fushiguro Megumi cannot open the field in advance, he must persist under the hands of the first-level peak curse spirit for an hour. Only by forcing out all his strength can he know what his talent is. After all, the next Wayu is simply a pervert to Fushiguro Megumi and everyone in the high school. Fushiguro Megumi felt pain and found herself in an unfamiliar place. She couldn't see anything around her. The wind and snow blocked 90% of her vision. She could only feel that the place was extremely cold. Are you serious? Fushiguro Megumi staggered to his feet. Now he was standing on ice, and he was wearing ordinary shoes. It was completely non-slip. Standing firmly was the first step, not to mention the battle against the peak level 1 cursed spirit. Okay, I've brought you the special training you wanted. All you have to do is, within this hour, survive. Feng Wuxia closed the space tunnel, leaving Fushiguro Megumi alone. There was no one around, and it seemed that he had come to an uninhabited place. Fushiguro Megumi was at most a second-level strength at the moment, and could not touch a first-level sorcerer. Not to mention the cursed spirit on the other side that crushed him. He used the Shikigami to bring himself into the air. In this way, the cursed spirits on the ground could not attack him temporarily. Fushiguro Megumi still underestimated the difficulty set by Feng Wuxia for him. The captured cursed spirit was definitely a peak existence in the first level. A mere Shikigami could not deal with him. The cursed spirit leapt up and jumped behind Fushiguro Megumi, punching the Shikigami. Together with Fushiguro Megumi, it fell heavily on the ice. No, I will freeze to death sooner or later. There is heating in the room of the Jujutsu High School, so I don't have to wear much. Toad, summoned when rescuing Wild Rose in the Juvenile Detention Center, it can put people in its mouth for protection. Temporarily solve the problem of keeping warm, although it's a bit disgusting to be in a frog's mouth. But it's good to be able to survive. Ha ha ha. The captured cursed spirits could not speak, and could only laugh at the embarrassed Fushiguro Megumi through simple pronunciation. He was a cursed spirit who was not afraid of cold or external injuries, but Fushiguro Megumi was different. In a harsh environment, any external injuries would spread quickly. In addition, it was impossible for the Shikigami to persist forever, so opening a domain was the best way at the moment. The domain isolated the space, and within the domain, one would not be afraid of the cold at all. Fushiguro Megumi regretted his decision a little, and came here to suffer for no reason. This is going to be difficult. The cursed spirit is definitely level 1, and I can't deal with it. I grabbed the ankle of the Shikigami and threw out Fushiguro Megumi, who was hiding inside. He fell heavily to the ground, with some bruises on his body, but it was not a big problem. Where is Aoi? Gojo Satoru found Feng Wuxia. I don't know, maybe he went shopping somewhere else. Gojo Satoru curled his lips. It was really not nice to go out without him. Fushiguro Megumi was accepting the test he carefully designed. Whether it was surviving for an hour or opening a domain. For him, the benefits outweighed the disadvantages, only benefits and no disadvantages. No, I have to take the initiative. Staying still will only increase my risk of death. Fushiguro Megumi stood up and managed to steady himself. He had just fallen hard. He was about to attack the cursed spirit in front of him, but the other party did not give him any chance. This is the real mission. The missions they did before were just some small fights. Facing a real strong man, Fushiguro Megumi can hardly fight back. The cursed spirit punched Fushiguro Megumi in the stomach and half knelt on the ground and vomited blood. The previous punch was very powerful and almost broke Fushiguro Megumi's internal organs. Cover your mouth to prevent more blood from spitting out. If you don't freeze to death, you will die of excessive blood loss. Fushiguro Megumi's vision gradually became blurred, and he could not see anything or hear any sound. His eyes could not see the front, and his heart was uncertain. He just vaguely remembered where he was. In the Jujutsu Kaisen, the field is an extremely rare and powerful skill. Only a very small number of sorcerers and cursed spirits can learn their own inherent domain. Once the domain is expanded, a small world will be constructed within a certain range except Sukuna. Then after the enemy is absorbed, the techniques used here will have a must-hit effect. So have you ever thought about a question, that is, how can you learn the domain? Or in other words, if you want to learn the domain, what conditions are required? First of all, it is certain that whether you can learn the domain has no direct relationship with your ability. Because many powerful sorcerers have never been able to learn this ultimate skill in their entire lives. On the contrary, Megumi Fushiguro, who is only a second-level sorcerer, has learned the domain. So it can be known that whether you can learn it or not. Domain has nothing to do with ability. So how can one learn domain? At present, there is only one factor that can be confirmed, and that is talent. For example, Fushiguro Megumi, he has the blood of the Zenin family. His father, Fushiguro Jiro, is a heavenly and cursed man, and his physical fitness is the strongest. And his technique also inherited the traditional technique of the Zenin family, the 10 shadow techniques. In addition, at a young age, he has the level of a quasi-first-class sorcerer, which can be said to be extremely talented. So, is it really true that just because you have talent, you can learn domain? Personally, I think this is ridiculous, because there are so many talented people. First, breaking through the limit on the verge of death. When Fushiguro Megumi first unfolded his domain, he was facing death. Because he was facing a special class, he had no way to defeat him in terms of hard power. The possibility of the opponent. Just when he was on the verge of death, he remembered the teachings of Gojo Satoru and used the domain to defeat the enemy. It can be seen that the danger from death can allow people to break through their limits in order to master the domain. Second, the particularity of the technique. In addition to talent and near-death experience, the innate technique is also a major factor in the opening of the domain. Third, the control of cursed power. We all know that whether it is a technique or a domain, it is ultimately a manifestation of cursed power. And the expansion of the domain requires a lot of cursed power to support it, which also illustrates a problem. Only by fully mastering one's own cursed power can it be possible to expand the domain. The reason why Fushiguro Megumi can learn the domain. It is not simply a high talent that can be fully explained. The domain is an extremely. It is not enough to have high talent. You also need to break your own limits and have special techniques and precise control of spell power. In summary, learning the right time, right place and right people is essential. System, how is the special training going? Feng Wuxia asked the system, what stage has it reached? Ding, Fushiguro Megumi's special training has reached a near-death state. Just keep stimulating Fushiguro Megumi. As expected, Fushiguro Wei is destined to open the domain, regardless of whether Feng Wuxiaji intervenes or not. I can't die yet, my sister is still waiting for me. The Japanese knotweed and wild roses are still outside. The Tokyo Exchange meeting has not started yet. I can't die here. Fushiguro Megumi kept roaring in his heart, but his heavy body and unable to open his eyelids made it even more difficult to wake up. He only felt that his body became so heavy, and various parts of his body began to gradually lose consciousness. It was as if he was about to die. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.